program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori?
Surprise, mother, huh? Yeah. No one saw that coming. You didn't even know it was possible, did you? They're like, whoa, Joe can like go live with less than 30 minutes notice in the middle of like the freaking day on a Sunday? On a Sunday? Whoops. Here I am, live from the middle of nowhere, talking to just a handful of you because no one knew I was popping in here. But people, I think they start getting notices, they'll come around. They'll come around. Till now, it's intimate. It's just you and me. And I'm going to be airing for you in case you're living under a rock, and missed the notification that says that Ron DeSantis has dropped out of the race. He's no longer participating in the 2024 presidential election and has ceded his endorsement to President Donald Trump, encouraging his supporters to be never Nickies, as they damn well should be, if they're American, at least. I don't really care what them EU folk think. Anyway, I'm going to share with you a clip of that, of Ron DeSantis announcing his resignation, but I want you to know that I'm keeping my eye on this rally in Rochester, New Hampshire. It's going to be the first time that Trump is speaking to a crowd at a rally in the wake of the DeSantis announcement of his suspension of his campaign. So good news abound for America and for the world at large. I will tell you that my take on this was it's probably best if he's in there to offset Nikki and basically take the never Trumpers and sort of splitting them. But I guess if he gives his endorsement over to Trump, gets Trump up over 70%, that could be a good thing. Give him a nice 40-point win. If he can get a 40-point win in New Hampshire, Nikki will go crying home to her mama. That's what will happen. He gets a 40-point win in New Hampshire. I don't know if he's going to get that big of a win. New Hampshire has a lot of allows for undecideds to come in there and tilt the election to make it skew less hardcore Republican. And really, let's face it, who wants Republican if it's not going to be hardcore? Anyway, Lazy Petite says, awesome job in Spaces. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's always cool being able to interact with the likes of Mike Benz, Patrick Bet David, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, who disagreed with me. I wasn't even really making this. I was throwing out an idea. It was something that sort of popped in my head while Spaces was going on. Someone, Dr. Gorka, said, that's crazy. And like other people were like, I don't know if that's so crazy. He's like, that's crazy. The suggestion I threw out at Dr. Gorka was, you notice how we have these falling gas prices, and there's all questions about Biden's reelectability. So you think that perhaps they're manipulating the price to sort of throw out there, spitball, and see, hey, if everything starts going well, can we manage to make his reelection campaign salvageable? And if not, then we'll get rid of him. It's almost like it's a test run to see, like, hey, can we save him? Is he salvageable? Do we have to tank him? He's like, I think you're giving the Democrats way too much credit for 4D chess. I'm like, all right, I'm just spitballing here. I'm not saying that's what is happening. I want to get your feedback on it. So taking it to you're a no, Dr. Gork. You're kind of a no. All right. Maybe you're right. I don't think everyone's as stupid. I don't think they're all universally stupid. You only need a couple of people. But the better answer is that they say Saudi Arabia is responsible because of the war that they start slashing their oil prices, and that's why we're seeing a tumbling in our gas prices, which, all right. No doubt you're streaming on Sunday to celebrate Detroit Lions win over Tampa Bay. Nice to share this with my son and his sons. I didn't even watch the game. That's how I cared. That's how little I cared. I would have been surprised if they had lost. I don't think Tampa Bay is anything. Well, Tampa Bay got anything to write home about, but I guess you're happy, so that makes me happy. So, congratulations. Congratulations. All right. Still seeing nothing going on with respect to this rally that's going on. Let me show you what I got pulled up here so you can see that I am on top of this. do plan on airing his appearance live. I had a feeling he was not going to come out at 7 o'clock. Like, that was not going to happen. Let me share with you what I got here. I don't want to reinstall. No, that's not happening. So this is his rally in Rochester, New Hampshire. You see he hasn't come out yet. It is muted. But I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. I'm going to share with you first, while we're waiting for him, I'm going to pull up Desantis announcing his the suspension of his campaign. So let's see if I can pull up here DeSantis. Let me pull that up here. I don't have it pulled up. I'm going to have to do a quick little digging. Where are you? Let's pull up. Let's see DeSantis this way. It's going to be on probably on his page. It's going to be on his page, right? What the hell? No. He didn't put it on Twitter? Son of a gun. There is speculation that Lee Zeldin is going to be the VP choice. Dr. Gorka claims that this is a done deal. He would not give a name, but he said it's a former politician from New York who's a longtime Trump supporter and is going to make MAGA happy. And it's a white dude. So that knocked out from it being at least Stefanik. So that makes people speculate. Former politician. All this has the earmarks of Lee Zeldin. He says he claims it's a done deal in Camp Trump. So there's a little news flash for you, at least if you trust the reporting of Dr. Gorka, which there's no reason to say he's wrong. Although if he gets it wrong, I'll hold it against him. That's for sure. He sounded very, very positive, without naming names. But if you do the math, you start thinking who's a hardcore Trump supporter from New York, former politician from New York, white male. Not too many other folks. I mean, what is it? Patrick freaking Moynihan? I mean, who is it? Ain't Ed Koch. No one thinks it's Andrew Cuomo. Unlikely it's going to be Andrew Cuomo, right? I mean, it's not Andrew Cuomo. Don't tell me it's Andrew Cuomo. I gotta find this here somewhere. It's going to be here somewhere. Oh, look at this. Even in Rumbleland, they managed to find me on here. That's nice. I put out my notifications, but I was like, without 30 minutes notice, people have a hard time finding me. DeSantis. We're going to get a single freaking announcement here from him. Can I just see? It's a 4.5 minute announcement. I'm just looking for it. You would think I would have it. Jesus. Here it is.
The warmth of being home is a reminder why I've chosen public service. From joining the United States Navy and serving in Iraq to representing the people in the U.S. Congress, and now
I haven't heard it yet.
Governor of Florida. And it reminds me why I decided to run for president, to fight for those who have been forgotten in this country. This is America's time for choosing. We can choose to allow a border invasion, or we can choose to stop it. We can choose reckless borrowing and spending, or we can choose to limit government and lower inflation. We can choose political indoctrination, or we can choose classical education. These choices are symptoms of the underlying struggle to ensure that constitutional government can endure and that Western civilization can survive. And we launched this campaign to bring accountability to government, regain sovereignty at our border, and restore sanity to our society.
I'm still bored. Is that rude of me to tell you just how freaking boring he is?
We cannot succeed as a country if we allow our nation to be invaded, our currency to be debased, our cities to crumble, and our kids to be indoctrinated. The DC elites who facilitated this mess do not care about you, and they do not work for you. They work for themselves. They seek to accumulate power at your expense to pursue an agenda that is harmful to the American people.
Yeah.
Citizens do not serve politicians. It is the duty of politicians to serve you. Talk is cheap. Actions
It takes him so long to get to the point.
speak louder than words. Reversing the decline of this nation requires leadership that delivers big results for the people we are elected to serve. I have a record of leading with conviction,
Tulsi
championing an
ain't getting
agenda
it.
marked by bold colors, delivering on my promises, and defeating the people who are responsible for our nation's decline. That is the type of leadership we need for all of America. Now, over the past many months, Casey and I have traveled across the country to deliver a message of hope that decline is a choice and that we can, in fact, succeed again as a nation. Nobody worked harder, and we left it all out on the field. Now, following our second place finish in Iowa, we've prayed and deliberated on the way forward. If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
Boom. Arais. Afuera.
I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden.
This is sort of half-assing the kind of half-assing the endorsement. Well, he kind of sucks on COVID, in my opinion. He's better than Biden.
That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The days of putting Americans last.
Well, that's good. A little slap at Nikki. That's good.
Of kowtowing to large corporations, of caving to woke ideology are over. I thank all of our passionate supporters who have stood by us through it all. That we had people volunteer to come to Iowa in the middle of a blizzard to knock on doors and make phone calls touched us dearly. No candidate had more thrown at him, but no candidate had so many committed volunteers and staff. Finally, I want to thank my...
This is still whining. No candidate. What did you have thrown at you? What did you have thrown at you? I don't even understand this. I don't know what he's talking. Can you, some of you in the crowd here, just tell me, what did he have thrown at him? Should have had tomatoes.
My wife, Casey, and our kids, Madison, Mason, and Mamie. Casey's gone far above and beyond in her support for our campaign and for our cause. She's not only a great wife and mother, she's a great American who cares deeply about the future of the country
and tall.
That our kids
She's
will
very
inherit.
tall.
Our kids have seen and done a lot on the trail, from playing on the famed Field of Dreams baseball site in Iowa to making their first snowman in New Hampshire. They are one of the reasons we fight so hard for what we believe in. Winston Churchill once remarked that success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. While this campaign has ended, the mission continues. Down here in Florida, we will continue to show the country how to lead. Thank you, and God bless.
Afuera! All right. Very, very half-hearted. Very half-hearted. Not impressed. Not impressed. I knew that when they said Trump was coming out at 7 o'clock, that would never happen. I'd sit here watching Right Side Broadcast News and their stupid coverage of this thing here while I engage with you fine folks. So, with the extinguishment of Ron DeSantis' campaign, it's time to do a little reflection. We should do a little reflection about his campaign. Why it started, why it ended, what this did to his political career. Honestly, I was zoned out. I didn't even hear what quote he reported. He attributed it to him. I struggle to listen to him. I really do. He lost so much by running for president, in my opinion. So many people just like, it's like, I'm never going to look at him the same way. I'm never going to look at him the same way. I can't tell you, like a year ago, he was like one of my 5 favorite politicians, and I will never look at him the same way. And, it's nice that he moved along when like, after he got steamrolled in Iowa, but I'm sorry. All it did was it called to mind all the shortcomings of Ron DeSantis without any of the upside of Ron DeSantis. And that taint is going to take a long time to fade. A long time, if it ever fades. I don't know if it'll ever fade. But the fact that his success in implementing policies that we may agree with only came when he had a supermajority. If you either have to figure out how to lead as an executor, or figure out how to be a diplomat if you're going to get any sort of implementation of your policy. And it seemed as if, all right, he happened to have the good fortune of sitting in the Floridian throne when he had a supermajority there who would basically let him cakewalk to whatever policies he wanted. And when he was in that role, okay, yeah, did a great job of fighting against the woke elite and enacting a lot of policies that you and I likely agree with. So that's all well and good, but I never realized just how wooden he was until I actually had to sit and listen to him for hours on end. I never realized how plastic and how short he was of any sort of presidential timber. Yes, that was intentional dig at his height, but yeah, it was just a lot of shortcoming, and the more indecisive he looked and how to properly handle these heinous indictments that were thrown at Trump, the more I question whether his policies are motivated by a genuine understanding of what American ideals are versus what would be popular with his base. Because it seems like it made me sort of feel as if he's reacting to what his base wants rather than feeling it himself. Because if he felt it himself, a lot of stuff that Vivek was saying, he would have said. He could have adamantly said, hell no, I'm not letting any marshals come and take Trump to New York for an indictment. He could have tried to stop the raid on Mar-a-Lago. There's a lot of things he could have done to be very aggressive in defending Trump from these heinous charges, and he fell short. I'm not saying he should have broken the law, simply saying he should have exercised his abilities as the chief executive of the state of Florida. That's what I think. That's how I feel very confident Vivek would have done if he was sitting there as the governor of Florida. And he fell well short. And every time another indictment came, he seemed to get worse and worse. So, yeah, I think that the taint is going to last for a long time. And he's so wooden, I can't listen to him. I seriously zone out. Like 30 seconds in, it just sounds like a blah, 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 blah. His record is fine, but he doesn't have the energy to be Trump's successor. I hope Vivek gets a position that lets him prove himself because no one else is promising right now. I kind of agree with you on that. They say it's going to be Lee Zeldin. That's what they're saying. They're saying Lee Zeldin's going to be the man. I don't know much about Lee Zeldin other than the fact that he scored a pretty impressive showing in New York when he ran for governor against Hochul, coming within 6 points of her in a state that's traditionally deep blue. He managed to come within 6 points of her, which is much closer than anybody anticipated he'd be able to come. So, you could do worse. You could do worse than Lee Zeldin. I don't think it's going to be Vivek. I think as much as I don't like Kayleigh McEnany, I think she's correct in her assertion where she basically points out that it would be a mistake for him to take Vivek because I think that would be doubling down on the same MAGA people who are going to be supporting him anyway. So you're not picking up anything. And I also don't think that it helps Vivek's candidacy. And I think that Trump doesn't like the idea of the spotlight being taken from him. Now, someone mentioned earlier, what about Tulsi? Tulsi gets Trump independents and former Democrats. Maybe. You want to know what he should do? You know what I would say he should do? He should sit down, because we were talking when I was on Spaces with Dr. Gorka and Patrick Bet-David, and they were talking about these events that unfolded today, and the prospect of RFK Jr. looming in the background, and the threat that he has as far as taking the people who make COVID their issue, which there are some people who are otherwise MAGA but have issues with Trump based on COVID, but they make COVID like an issue as to their disappointment with Trump and his embracing of Dr. Fauci as a basis to never go back to Trump. I think that he might want to go with sitting down with RFK and say, I want you to sit as head of the Department of Health. And that he'll put him in that position. I'm going to put you in charge of the Department of Health. And I think that might go a long way toward making people feel confident that we're not going to see the same idiocy that we saw with respect to respecting Dr. Fauci. Now, I think a lot of the people who trash Trump about COVID, I think it's such an unfairly harsh way to look at the situation that was thrust upon him out of the blue, really blindsiding him, where if he had rejected Fauci, if he had spat in Fauci's face, his political enemies would certainly have used that as evidence of their forever claims that he ignores science. So here he would be basically standing scientifically against Dr. Fauci, who at the time was being hailed as Louis Pasteur and Galileo and Einstein rolled into one, but like tailored toward COVID. And that if he had basically gotten rid of him or trashed him, they would have said, oh, so here is the head epidemiologist for the last 40 years in this country, and our president, who thinks you should inject bleach, is just fired him. He's going to kill us all. Now, is that accurate framing? 1,000%. It's a lie. Lie after lie after lie. He never suggested injecting bleach. He never said anything of the kind. Dr. Fauci is crooked, evil, disgusting, horrible, terrible person. But the message would never have gone out that way. While the truth would have been on Donald's side as far as accurate way of handling the situation, appropriate way to handle the situation, that never would have gone out that way. And there would have been a lot of people on the right who would have been like, look, I love Trump and all, but I don't know. I mean, they might not have been so anti-Fauci at that point. You might feel like you were anti-Fauci, but I don't think most Republicans were anti-Fauci at that point. And Trump's relative naivete with respect to how COVID was working left him in a weak position to cover the authoritarian doctor perspective of Dr. Fauci, that specter that was looming over how we were handling COVID. And I think people who forget about that context in October of 2020 are really losing sight as to like what he was facing with at that point in time. And then people are like, well, he could have gotten rid of him afterwards. Okay, yeah, he was dealing with a bunch of things afterwards, having nothing to do with COVID. Nothing to do with COVID. And he was looking to garner support because we had just had the vaccine that came out like a week or two after the election, miraculously a week or two after the election, and trying to basically say, hey, you guys should be on my side, and looking to gain support. So, of course, he's going to be embracing the vaccine at that point in time. So I think those of you who are particularly harsh against Trump for COVID, I think that's a harsh assessment. Do I think that he wasted too much money before COVID came around? Yes. I didn't. I had problems with that. As far as Tulsi, apparently they say that she's got some really wacky positions I don't know enough about her positions other than the fact that she abandoned the left and then went independent and it seems to be going further and further right. But apparently on some areas, she's got some really wacky positions. I understand that it's nice to see a convert, and especially if that convert happens to be healthy eye candy and with some political cachet as well. I get all that. I just don't know that she has people who are going to come running to vote for her as vice president, or that she'd be good at it. Hey, what the heck? DeSantis will never go to Disney again. Quitting is for losers. It is for losers. I'm still waiting for them to air this speech here. I'm still waiting. Don't think you're missing anything because he ain't. I knew he was going to be late. I was like, man, I should start this thing up at 7:30.
Trump goes, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. I used to have a theory that
Nothing.
He was doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday rallies. And
I was like, why am I starting this on time for him? Why did Ron even mention Fauci last dig? Yeah, exactly. Why did he do that? That's what I'm saying. There's so much I don't. He makes me not like about him. Why would you do that? I'm sitting here. I'm endorsing Trump and telling you he needs to take out Haley and Biden. Why would you throw that in your speech? Why would you throw that in your concession? Why throw that in there? It seems petty and small. Totally agree with you. Tulsi Gabbard has some wacky positions, but everybody loves him. I see what you did there. So, yeah, that's the story here. As I'm waiting for Trump to come out, and I'm wondering, like, it could take him like another hour before he comes out. It really could take him another hour. Oh, look who they got here. They got Carrie Lee.
I had no idea who it was until I heard Carrie. We love you. Welcome to the show.
So
welcome to New Hampshire.
Here.
She's not going to be the one.
This crowd. Brian, this crowd. Look at these people.
It really is amazing.
Hey, everyone.
It's amazing.
You know what I see here? I see working men. I see working men who have families, who do everything right, who've done everything right, and they're tired of what's happening in Washington, D.C. Yeah. And that's why they love a fighter like Donald Trump. And I'm a little bit emotional. I didn't expect to have such energy in this building. We pulled up to an opera house, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
We get in here.
Oh, here we go.
The next president of the United States, President Donald
Dun, dun,
J.
dun, 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 dun,
Trump.
dun.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think she said that guy.
And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this.
Oh man, that's gonna totally get me yanked off of YouTube. That song, bastards. All right, let's stop. Let's stop with the singing. Let's stop with the whole singing. We don't need less singing, less music, more speaking. Zach.
They're no good. They're headed up by bad people. Globalists, radical left communists to get liberals and Biden supporters to vote for her and the Republican Party. Did you see who's voting for her? Democrats are voting. What kind of a governor do you have in this state where they allow Democrats?
I'll come back to this.
They've already got 5,000 signed up, but that's peanuts compared to the numbers we get. So. No, but they've already got, you had to be signed up by like October 7th. But think of it, Democrats to vote in the Republican primary. What kind of a governor would allow that? He is the most overrated governor, but not really, because most people don't think he's a very good governor. So he's not that. But you'll end up getting rid of him pretty quick. The people behind Nikki are pro-amnesty. Do you like that? Pro-China, pro-open borders, pro-war, pro-deep state, and they're pro-Biden. Did you see where 50% of the people that voted for her in Iowa are going to vote for Biden? In other words, they're Democrats. They're voting. Think of it. They're going to vote for Biden. They just had no choice, so they picked her. This is not what we want. Our movement is pro-borders, pro-jobs, pro-freedom, and 100% pro-America. Pro-America.
She could be.
We are the party And I think this is so important. We are the party of common sense. You know, people say, oh, you're conservative. No, I don't care. It's like, doesn't matter. We are the party of common sense. We want borders. We want low taxes. We want a strong military. We want to drill, baby, drill. We want to drill, baby, drill and bring down energy costs.
Haley could be Biden's
Because
vice
your
president.
state, New Hampshire, has the highest energy costs in the entire country. Do you know that? And I am going to bring your energy costs down by 50% within 1 year. It'll be easy to do. It'll be easy to do. And it's been that way for a long time. Never made sense. But that's another governor thing. This governor, you got to get him out of there. He's a big Nikki guy, which makes sense. That made sense. When I heard that, you know, he ran for president, but he didn't run. He didn't have the guts to announce it. So he ran. He was trending around the Asa Hutchinson, you know. This guy ran. He was at 0 for a year. Then he hit, 2 months ago, he hit 1%. I said, that was like breaking news. He hit 1%, but the following month he was back to 0. Then he had 1 month where he was 0 with an arrow pointing to the left, meaning he was less. Guy ran for like a year. No, your governor wasn't much better, but in all fairness to Asa, your governor never had the guts to announce. He ran for president, but never announced because he didn't want to announce and have to take it back. So he just pretended like nothing happened. We're wise to him. The radical left Democrats are supporting Nikki for a very simple reason, because they know she's easy to beat. They came out with a poll 2 days ago where she's way down to Biden and I'm way up on Biden. And that's the way it is. She's unelectable. Nikki Haley wants to change the working class. So just think of this. So you have a nice working class, and they want to put a 23% national sales tax on everything that's purchased. Do you think that's good? How about, forget about middle class. How about poor people? They have to pay 23% when they buy something. While she raises, and she wants to do this, the Social Security
HR 25 he's talking
age
about.
by perhaps an extra 10 years, because she's talking about a certain life cycle. So you can labor until the day you die and then not collect a penny out of your benefits that you really are entitled to. We're not going to play with your Social Security, or we're not going to play with your Medicare. Remember that. You know, I know politicians well, because for my whole life, except for the last little while, I had the greatest life going. What the hell did I do? I got indicted more than Alphonse Capone. Can you believe it? Al Capone. If he had dinner with you, even these young ladies, it didn't matter to him. He was equal opportunity. If he had dinner with you, if he didn't like you, he'd kill you. You'd be dead. This guy got indicted less than me. Do you believe it? Because I say the election was rigged. Let me tell you. And it was. And we have all the proof you need, too. If you're lucky enough to live past the retirement age of 75, I guess they go by 75 under the Nikki Haley plan. She wants to gut Medicare using the Paul Ryan scheme. You know Paul Ryan, a rhino? Like the ultimate rhino. He destroys everything. He goes on boards, and the company hasn't done so well since he's done that. But Paul Ryan used to be Speaker of the House. Not a good one. He led the Democrat ads. You know, this was the ad, the granny off the cliff. They took his policy and they say, let's do an ad where we push granny off a cliff in a wheelchair. This was not a good ad for us. That was Paul Ryan. With your vote, it's campaign, and this is on Tuesday, you can declare that the Republican Party is never going back to the days of a weak establishment candidate. Candidates who preach cutting Medicare and Social Security at home while they spend trillions and trillions of dollars on really dumb, endless wars. They never end. They go on for 22 years, 24 years. We don't do that, do we? And we defeated ISIS in 4 months, right? Remember, it was supposed to take 4 years, 4 months. Because we have an incredible military. Not the people that are on television from the military, not the people that are missing for 5 days, Secretary of Defense, not the people that are missing. And he's running the war. You know, a couple of days ago, we have a new war going on in the Middle East. You see, we're dropping bombs all over the place again. You can do it with a telephone call and be much tougher, just if you know what you're doing. These guys are back into the war in the Middle East. Okay, it never ends, never ends. So we have a Secretary of Defense who's been missing. And now we find out he's been running the war from his laptop in a hospital bed. The laptop is on his stomach. I know exactly how it is. It's on his stomach. And he's running the war. This is not good because this is the same group that ran the horrible, most embarrassing moment in the country's history, Afghanistan, where we lost soldiers, should have never been lost. None of this stuff would have happened. You know, none of this, I got it down to a point where we could get it. We had to get out. It was good, but I would have never let Bagram, that's the Air Force base, 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. It was so good for us. He left. You know who's occupying Bagram right now? China. They're occupying it.
China.
We lost
China.
soldiers. We left what's called now, we left American hostages. Okay. He looks like a nice person. But we're never going back. I miss that. You know, it doesn't happen very much. It used to happen all the time, right? These are misguided people. These are misguided people. We're never going back to the days of globalist rhinos who promised border security before the election. Remember that? Border security. We had the safest border in the history of our country. And now we have the most unsafe border in the history of the world. But they do the bidding for Wall Street. They want open borders after the election. You wait till you see what happens. We're going to win this election. We're going to have a great border. We're going to have more energy than you've ever had.
It's going to be beautiful.
And we're never going back. So if you want a losing candidate who puts America last, vote for Nikki Haley. But if you want a president who puts America first and did it successfully for 4 years, you know, I'm the only. Did you ever read the stat that I'm the first president that didn't go into and start a war? I finished some wars, like with ISIS. And remember when I was running against, and I don't use that nickname anymore because I gave it to Biden, Hillary. Beautiful, beautiful Hillary. Remember when? And she got up and she said, with his personality, we'll be starting wars. No.
I'll come back to your question later.
I finished wars. I took our people out. Surprising. And we won. With your support, we will soon be taking the oath of office on the steps of the United States Capitol. And we're going to have a whole different country. As soon as I lift my hand from the Bible as your 47th president, I will seal the border, shut down the invasion of millions and millions of people coming into our country, and we will start an energy revolution. We have more than anybody else. We're going to resume that drilling. What they've done.
He hasn't even mentioned Ron yet.
What they've done to this country is not even believable. What they've done, especially when you look at the border. Things like Afghanistan, it was a surrender. That was a pure surrender. Horrible. I believe the lowest moment in the history. But what they've done to this country in so many ways, we're no longer respected. We have a man that can't put two sentences together, and he's negotiating with President Xi of China, with Putin. He's negotiating. Our country has never been in this danger. I'll tell you right now. And I'm talking about World War III type danger. We have never, ever had a situation like this. And the only reason the stock market's high, because they think we're going to win the election. That's the only reason, because that will come crashing down if we don't. We will terminate every diversity, equity, and inclusion program across the entire federal government. And I will instruct the heads of ICE and Border Patrol to begin the largest deportation program in American history, because it's not sustainable. 3 years ago, we had the most secure border in U.S. history. We built 561 miles of border wall. Remember with Mexico, they did so much. Remember, Mexico gave us 28,000 soldiers free of charge.
I agree
said, you
with you. I
must
think
give
it's
them to us.
intentional.
They said, no. I said, you have to give them to us. They said, no. I said, you will. Don't
I think
worry
they're
about
going to
it.
mention
You
you
will.
at the end.
They said, no, we're not. And then they sent their top negotiator, good negotiator, very handsome guy, nice guy, beautiful. It looked like Cary Grant. But I said, we want 28,000 soldiers. He laughed at me. He said, oh, why would we do that? You're going to do it. I promise you, you're going to do it. No, we're not going to do it. Yes, you are. Then I said, also, we want catch and release in Mexico, not in the United States. You know, we have catch and release where we release them into the United States and nobody ever sees them again unless they murder somebody. So we catch and release. I said, I want it in Mexico. I want all of these things. I gave him a list of 10 things. Tom Homan gave me a list. Brandon Judd of Border Patrol. I took a list from the top 10 guys. I got every single one. They said, you'll never get it. A woman from the State Department said to me, sir, and she was very good, but she was a lousy negotiator. She said, sir, you'll never get this stuff. I'll get every one of them. I said, give me your top 10. I called it a top 10 list. And I went to Mexico and they said, they came in to see me, they're top people. The president, I had a great relationship with him, actually, great. That's why he didn't want to negotiate with me. He wanted to keep it good. But, you know, they came in to see me, they're representatives, the one guy leading it, very highly respected guy. And I said, no, you're going to have to give us these 10 things. And they said, he actually thought I was kidding. And the person from the State Department said, sir, we've been asking for these things for 25 years. We'd never get one of them. I said, you get all 10. I said, you're going to get all 10. And she smiled. Okay, so then it goes along, and I want soldiers, I want protection. This way, we had the safest border in the history of our country. And Mexico gave us thousands and thousands of soldiers, and they're not as politically correct as our soldiers have to be. Like, ma'am, please don't cross the border. No, their soldiers, Pancho Villa. You ever hear of Pancho Villa with that thing and the bullets going across? They gave us the soldiers, and I said, no, we're going to do it. No, you're not. I said, here's what I'm doing. If you don't give us everything I want, I am signing a document. I had the document. I said, I'm signing it right now. It was Friday. I said, on Monday morning at 7 o'clock, everything that comes from Mexico into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff. And if you don't get it done within 1 month, it goes to 50%. Then it goes to 75, and then it goes to 100. And the same guy that said, I will never do this, sir, you have to be kidding. He thought I was kidding. I said, I'm not kidding. I don't kid, actually, you know? I don't kid. I said, what are you going to do? He said, sir, I'd like to take 5 minutes. Well, it took 5 minutes. He called the president of Mexico, came back in about 2 minutes. Sir, it would be our great honor to do every one of those things. It would be our great honor. It would be our great honor. So we have a policy, remain in Mexico. Now, how, you know, you don't have to be a total genius. Remain in Mexico until you've vetted and everything. We had hundreds of thousands of people in Tijuana. This was not a
This is
lovely
why the
place at that
world
point.
leaders hate
This was
him.
not a good place to take the family for a little
He's like,
trip.
he's
It was
willing to
rough
say
stuff. But you know
F
what? They weren't in our country. And we do it right. We had such a great system. If Biden, instead of going to the beach and destroying everything, if he went to the beach and did nothing, just slept, you know, he goes to the beach because one of his consultants thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, you know? Yeah. And he has a hard
Corn
time
Pop
with the
was a
feet
bad
in the
dude.
sand. And he has a harder time lifting that. You know, those chairs, they're like about 8 ounces, right? They're made so that a child can lift them up for a grandfather to sleep in. And he can't lift it. But Secret Service did the job. They're great. Under Biden, the USA has been turned into a dumping ground and a disrespected one. We have, if you think about it, people coming in from all parts of the world, from parts unknown, speaking languages that people here have never even heard, and they're being dumped into our country. They're coming in from mental institutions. They're coming in from jails and prisons.
Say it. They're rapists.
They're terrorists.
They're rapists.
And they're coming in at levels that
rapists.
nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah.
Do you know, I think the fake news will agree with this. They had a post up about 2 weeks ago. They said, and I don't even believe this, it's too good to be true. In 2019, that's one of my years, they had no terrorists coming into our country. We had the terror ban. We had all the different things, right? We had no terrorists. It actually said 20, and you can go check it. You can check Deface the Nation on one of these shows. I think they put it up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. Oh, they're bad news. They're all bad. They're all so bad. I don't even know why. Why do they want to have an open border? Why do they want to have high interest rates,
Census.
high taxes,
For a census.
A bad military.
That's why.
I mean, they are. So one thing nobody's been able to explain why, because again, you want to have borders. If you don't have borders and fair elections, you don't have a country. And we don't have borders and we don't have fair elections when you get right down to it. On day one, I will terminate every open border policy of crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And to stop the deadly drugs that are poisoning our people, we are losing, in my opinion, 300,000, not 100, not 97. It's been 97 for years. It's 300,000, probably more than that. Right, Joe? I would say probably, these are front row Joes over here. They follow me all over the place. I can't get rid of them. I can't get rid of them. These are all front row Joes. They're fantastic. You must have a lot of money no matter where I go. I say, it's front row Joes. You become quite famous, which is pretty cool, right? When you get right down. Thank you, everybody. Oh, North Carolina. We have North Carolina. We have a group of women. They've gone to 117 events. Beautiful women, married. I don't know if it could be successful because they've gone to 117 rallies. They were here last night. We had a big one in your arena. That was a great one. And this is a great one, except for all the people that have to stand outside. But I will deploy the U.S. Navy to impose a full fentanyl blockade on the waters of our region because a lot of it comes in by ship. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and we will wage and destroy. We will wage war on the drug cartels. They don't want this. They don't want this. We did so well. We did so well with them, but now they make more money probably than almost anybody in our country. They're making more money than the richest people that you read about, including me. They make more money than anybody in this country, millions, billions and billions of dollars, because our leaders are stupid, okay? They allow them to make it. They drop people off. They say, walk across the river. They build platforms where they walk across the river. You've never seen anything like it. And it's like a well-oiled machine. And it just doesn't make sense. Who could want this? Who could allow this to happen to our beautiful country? And I'll use Title 42 as I did. We had Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. Nikki Haley, globalist, will never secure the border or stop the fentanyl that is killing thousands of New Hampshire citizens. And you know that. Nikki opposed my border wall. You know, she fought me on the border wall. I said, what the hell is that woman doing? She fought me on the border wall. We'll have to figure that one out. She condemned my strong border policy. She didn't want to have the strong. You know, there are a group of people that actually think open borders are okay. Those people, they're generally not very smart. Yeah, they're Democrats. They're definitely not Republicans. And then she stabbed the Republican Party in the back by siding with Barack Hussein Obama. Against the Trump travel ban. I have to be very careful when I say Obama's name because, you know, the fake news, they say, did you ever realize that he gets the name Barack Obama confused with Biden? You know, they're trying to say he's cognitively impaired. And when I use it, because I figure Barack Hussein Obama is probably running things based on some of the people I see. So when I say Barack Hussein Obama is running things, they say, oh, when I imitate him walking into a wall because he can't find the stairs. They showed me, true. They showed me sometimes, I'll like, we'll have fun. We got to have fun. If we don't have a sense of humor with what's happening to our country, we're really screwed. So I'll show, they say, please, I'll show, you know, where you go, huh. He makes a speech that lasts for about 2 seconds. He goes, huh. You ever notice how short his speeches are? They last for about like 2.5 minutes. You know why? Because it starts wearing off after a short period of time. He starts falling asleep. You know, I never talked about him this way until I got indicted. It's true. Once he indicted me, he did something that's never been done before. He indicted a very popular, look, I had tremendous popularity. We had a tremendous success. He indicted, raided my house. I mean, think of it, raided Mar-a-Lago. FBI agents raiding Mar-a-Lago. But think of it, he indicted a former president of the United States. Once that happened, thank you. I agree. Thank you. But once that happened, it was like the gloves are off, because that's the worst thing. It's not even possible. Many presidents leave, and there are things you can go after. And frankly, to be honest, that's one of the reasons the Supreme Court is looking now at immunity. You have to have guaranteed immunity for a president. Otherwise, a president's not going to be able to function. They're not going to move. Harry Truman would not have done Hiroshima, Nagasaki, probably ended the war, probably, I think so. But he wouldn't have done it. So many things wouldn't be done. But think of it. Barack Obama shot missiles during his term, shot missiles into an area, killed a lot of people. They missed. I mean, does that mean you indict him when he gets out of office? Well, she goes, it does. But, you have to allow a president to do his job. They'll make decisions. And, it's like the police. I say we have to give the police back their power. We're not going to have any crime. But we protect. What we do, I mean, to me, it's the best analogy. And our Democrat-run cities are dens of horrible crime right now. No, we've never seen anything like it. Washington, D.C. people are getting shot every single day. Washington, D.C. We're going to, by the way, take over the capital of our country. We're going to fix it, clean it, and make it totally safe. We're going to bring it back. It's going to be better than it ever was before. But we're going to do that with our cities. But it's a little bit like the police. So you have a rogue cop. You know what a rogue cop is? Very seldom, but you have bad people. You have people, no matter where, no matter what. In the church, you have some people that aren't so good, right? But you have people, a rogue cop or a bad apple, whatever. And what they do is they make it so that you catch, so that it can't happen. And therefore, everyone else is allowed to commit crimes, murders, like at levels that we've never seen before. No, we're going to have to do this. Immunity for the president. If you have a president that doesn't have immunity, he's never going to be free to do anything, because the opposing party will always indict him as soon as he leaves the White House. And you can't let that happen. You can't. You take away all of the power of the presidency, it'll be a different country. So hopefully the decision will be a correct one. Hopefully. Because you know what I find, and I just love to speak. You don't mind if I speak my mind, do you? I mean, I figure I spend about 16% of my time on these suckers, and the rest of it, he goes, you don't need it now. Thank God I don't. Isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't need it? It doesn't help him much because he can't read it. But I spend a small amount of time on those because it's frankly not as interesting. But the immunity situation is so important. And one thing I've noticed, and I've noticed it very strongly, if Biden or Obama, Democrat, appoint a judge, they go out of their way to hurt you. If a Republican appoints a judge like me, I appoint a judge, they go out of their way to show they're not biased and that they can't be bought, they can't be this, they can't be. You appoint somebody and they go out of their way to rule against you because they want to show that they are not in any way influenced by the fact that you appointed them. And you really do have two standards. It's an incredible difference. And hopefully the Republican justices that we have and judges that we have will make correct decisions. And what I want is just fair and correct decisions. And the president has to have immunity. If they don't have immunity, you're not going to have a presidency much. You're not going to have much of a country, frankly. It'll be a terrible thing. It'll be a disaster. Biden and his thugs are desperate to stop us because they know that we are the only ones that can stop them. We're the only ones. There's nobody else. The greatest movement of all time, okay? It's true.
Possibly.
And you know what I believe? I believe it's over 90%. You ever see these guys? Well, Donald Trump has a pretty good lock on the party. He's got about 48% of the, that's not 48. MAGA is not 48. MAGA is like 95% of the party.
Yeah.
I believe that.
But that's why they're not partisan.
That's why I like the gentleman that I introduced you to, Lawrence, because Lawrence would be at a diner someplace, right? And the studio would be talking to the anchors, and They say, well, this one and that. I can't use the name Ron, so I'm not going to use Ron anymore. But let's use some of other candidates, right? Nikki Haley is doing really well, which is not true. She's doing really poorly. She's losing by a lot. But Nikki Haley is this and that, and another one is this and that. And then, all right, take it away, Lawrence. And Lawrence is going, I know I'm hearing you, what you're saying, but it's not like that out here. And then it'll turn around. There'll be like 200 people having breakfast, and they'll say, who likes Trump? The place goes crazy. Who likes Haley? There's no sound. Who likes another person? I won't say it anymore. But there'd be no sound. So I thought it was cool.
You get for a half-hearted endorsement,
So
Ron.
having Lawrence was a lot of fun.
Really half-hearted
It's a lot of fun.
endorsement.
There's a little streetwise intelligence there, It's so cool. Yeah, hey, listen, what you're saying, it's just not working down here, I tell you. But that's what the truth is. That's why they are weaponizing law enforcement at a level like never before, and it's all high-level election interference. They're interfering. Tomorrow, you know where I'm going to be? I don't have to be there, but I want to be there because otherwise I can't get a fair shake. I'm going to be in court.
Oh,
Democrat.
me.
It's okay.
I'm going to be there.
So I go there tomorrow morning, leave early, or tonight I think I'm leaving late. I'll leave late. Thank you, She said I'm praying. I could use your prayers. No, but look, it is what it is. These are crooked people. These are corrupt people. But I'm going for a trial tomorrow, all done by political opera. Reid Hoffman is sponsoring this woman that said terrible things from 30 years ago. He took me. I owned 4 buildings around it. I owned the hotel next to it. I took her a totally fabricated story. It's all fabricated. And the lawyer is a political operative. He used to be very close to Cuomo. Do you ever hear of Cuomo? And a political operative. Then you find out they fund it. And we had a special session on funding. And when the judge found out that it was true that they're funding it, he wouldn't let it as evidence. But that's okay. So I go there. I'll spend time there. And then I come back here. Who else would do this? I've been doing this now. And that's exactly. Now, here's the thing. Think of this. The day of your primary, right? The day of your primary. I have a case which is brought the day before Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday is a big deal. I have another case that's brought just before Iowa. And it's a disgrace. I have like 8 of them. Civil cases, all kinds of cases. We got this is equal opportunity. We have every kind of case you can have. But think of it. They're filed. Now, I said,
What'd you say? He said what? I need to know. Live. Pause. Live.
They're filed. Now, I said,
that's not me. Oh, man. I need to know what he said. Brr. All right. Let's see if I can find it somewhere else. See if we can find it on YouTube. Nope. They're having all sorts of problems here. This is Right Side Broadcasting News. We were watching it on Rumble just now, and this is what it looks like over on YouTube. So this is a Right Side Broadcasting Network issue. All right. Well, I'm assuming they're going to fix themselves. Meanwhile, let me address some of these things. Problem with Trump was more than COVID. He did nothing about the deep state. For example, in fact, I'll leave this over here so you know that I'm not missing nothing. We're not missing nothing. He did nothing about the deep state. For example, kept John Bolton as national security advisor. Poor judgment. Trump spent a ton of money. Oh, so these are the two issues I raised about him all along. I will say this. Someone made a point that it's like when you're looking to fill positions, the best you can do is hope that he's filling thousands of positions. He's gonna pick some who are gonna suck. And the best you can hope for is that he's gonna be quick on the trigger. And he did get rid of John Bolton. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot of people, the choices he made were terrible choices. Okay. At least he has an agenda to try and fix it. See, this is what I'm saying. If you had one other person out there who was running, who was saying, I'm going to clean the swamp, and you're like, oh, okay, that person is going to clean it better, then you would have a more intriguing situation to address. But we're in a situation here now where no one else is even talking about draining the swamp, and frankly, Nikki Haley is no less a swamp creature than anyone else. If anything, she's arguably a bigger swamp creature. So yeah, you can cite that as a problem with Trump, and I'm going to sit there agreeing with you. So in lieu of him, who? That's what you have to ask yourself. And if that's his biggest shortcoming, considering the fact that he has so many other upsides to him, he still has those upsides at least. Yeah. Do I wish that he was better at draining the swamp? Hell yeah. Do I hope that maybe he'll be better at it on his second go round? Yeah. But okay. So then who? Who do you think is going to spend less money? You're basically pointing out things that I agree with you on. So I'm not disagreeing with you about the points that you're making as far as ways that he could improve in his second term. So I'm on the same percent. There we go. It's not like there's no other option.
Polling at 100%. Think of that. And a lot of people don't know. They never cover this, but the next state is not South Carolina, where if you saw almost every single elected official was here last night endorsing me. Pretty hard. She's the governor. They're all endorsing me, which tells you something. But in Nevada, which is actually next week, and we have 100% because it's a caucus. And I was leading by so much that they all pulled out. That's a nice feeling. Then we go to South Carolina, where we're leading by a lot. In South Carolina, respected pollster Tony Fabrizio. Is he a relation to Al Capone? Tony Fabrizio? Alphonse Capone. I keep saying
you're racist.
The guy got away with murder. Tony Fabrizio has it where Trump is at 64. Very good pollster, by the way. And Haley is at 25, 64, 25. We're leading into New Hampshire and all over the state. We're leading here. And all of the polls, but with all of it, I could go over polls. I only give you good polls, okay? I never talk about bad polls, okay? You understand. But we don't have any bad polls. We really don't. And our best polls are against Biden, frankly. Our best polls, and the other people that were running and are running, but are losing very substantially to Biden. So with all of the polls, I won't go through any more of them, but they're the same thing. With all of the polls that are out, we're all set to win, but you have to do just one favor. No matter how big we're winning, we want to win by big margins. It means so much to win by 70%, 50%, 40%. That's what happened in Iowa. I was going through Iowa. Every time I got up, the first thing I say, don't believe the polls, just go out and vote, because even if we're going to win by a lot, we got to win by more. The more we win by, the bigger a signal we send for November. So that's why you have to do it. We're also dominating crooked Joe Biden in the general election. We're up 8 points over Biden in the brand new Rasmussen poll. And Haley is down, I think, 6 or something like that. No, she's going to lose. She's going to lose. No, they want her to run. The reason they're financing her, they're spending all this money. They have a guy named Reid Hoffman, sloppy looking guy, not attractive at all. I'm not allowed to say that. If it were a woman, I could definitely not say it. But about him, he's a real slob. But he's rich, and he's fine. He's a Democrat operative. He's giving them a lot of money. It's terrible. Giving her.
Look at this.
The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to let them rig the presidential election of 2024. We're not going to let it happen. They're going to try, too, by the way. They're going to try. That's all they're good at. That's the only thing they're good at is cheating. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I do, actually, because I'm being indicted for you. I'm being indicted for you. They're after. These people are crazy.
Sure.
Never forget our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. That's what it's all about. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, which is actually true. Hard to believe.
So Ray
They're after
Fumetto
you.
admitted it.
I just happen to be standing in the way, and I will always stand in the way. So we're delighted to have a few people tonight that I wanted to call out. Last night we had
he's
stakes
winding
of
down.
people, and it was really something. What a special! Tomorrow night we're doing a big deal too. This is big, but we have some of your local people that have done such a great job. The chairman of the Rochester Regional Republican Committee, Carlton Cooper. Where's Carlton? Thank you, Carlton. Looking good. Thank you, Carlton. The vice chair of New Hampshire Republican Party, Ryan Terrell. Ryan. Thank you. Thank you. A man that's been with me right from the beginning, the early days, and boy, does he love the veterans, and we take care of our veterans. Lou Gargiulo. Where's Lou? Thank you, Lou. What a great job. Did I do the best job for the vets, please, Lou? You know, it's always dangerous because if he said no, the whole evening is screwed, okay? But he won't say it. I have total confidence. We're doing a job, right? Thank you, Lou. Thank you. Thank you. We took care of the vets. You know, the vets, Lou will tell you, the vets would have to wait 2, 3, 4 months sometimes to see a doctor. And I came in, I said, if they can't see a doctor within 24 hours, they go outside and they get a private doctor, we pay the bill. And you know, it's interesting. We saved a lot of lives. People would become terminally ill as they waited. We saved a lot of lives, and that was good. And the other thing is we were able to fire almost 9,000 people from the VA. That, you know what, that doesn't sound good. We were able to fire people. You couldn't do it because of I had to get these things through Congress, by the way. This wasn't just signing an executive order, right, Lou? But we had to fire. We fired 9,000, close to 9,000 people working at the VA who were sadists, who were thieves, who were horrible people, who were beating up our veterans because it's not prime time for the veterans. They wouldn't have done it 30 years earlier. But these people are very sick. And the people that were doing this, we had a lot of sadists, a lot of bad people. You couldn't do a thing. We had a group of people that sold, I think it was $400,000 in Arizona, I believe, 400,000. And they were unable, before me, they were unable to fire them. They stole 400,000, they were caught. And you couldn't fire them because of civil service. Anyway, we got a law passed. We got it passed in Congress. You think that was easy? They've been trying to get those two things, that and the health care. They tried to get it done for a period of 52 years, one, and 59 years, the other. And I got them both done. And we fired 9,000 very bad people. And another man who I think is here, and he loves your state, and he worked. Nobody was closer to me. Corey Lewandowski. Is Corey here? Yes, Corey. Oh, look at him. Whoa, come here. Come here, say something. Come on, Corey, come on. Come on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. How much do we love Donald Trump? On Tuesday, we deliver the biggest victory the state's ever seen for the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We love Corey. He's great. I'll tell you what, he loves this state. You know, a lot of people, they want to move to other places. I said, would you ever move, Corey? I love New Hampshire. He's not leaving. You're not leaving, Corey. He will never leave. He will never leave. And we all love New Hampshire. From the very first day that we take back the White House from Crooked Joe Biden and his band of radical left lunatics, I believe we're going to have
He's really
the
on
four
fire in this
greatest
speech.
years in the history of our country.
He's on fire.
The next Trump economic boom will begin on November 5th, 2024. And we're going to bring America together through a word called success. You know, we had the most successful economy in history. Then we got hit with COVID, and then by the time we gave it back, it was the stock market was even higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in. But we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We were doubling up on China. We were taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and taxes from China. No other president took in anything, nothing. They ran roughshod over us. But we had 4 incredible years under my leadership. We built the greatest economy, and we had record low unemployment rates. We had the best unemployment rates ever. And they were real unemployment, not like you have today where nobody's working and they consider it to be. It's a whole different thing. Too complicated to explain, but it's a whole different thing. You don't have to know about it. But I'm talking about real good unemployment rates. And for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, veterans, young people, women, people with degrees from the great Wharton School of Finance. Did you ever hear of the Wharton School of Finance? From MIT, from the greatest schools, although MIT was hurt very badly, unfortunately, by this person running it. Did you see that, the 3 people? How good did Elise Stepanek do? Right? How about the head of Harvard? Do you think she was great? She was great. She was just great. No, Elise was fantastic. Elise has been here for 4 days. She's going around. She's amazing, right? Did you hear her speak? Yeah, she's great, isn't she? We had gas prices at $1.87 a gallon, and there was no inflation. We had no inflation. Together, we ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country, and replaced it with a brand new and very successful USMCA, the best trade deal ever made. You know, that deal is so good that Mexico and Canada, who really took advantage of us for years, they want to renegotiate the deal. And I sent word to the administration. I do like to send word. Sometimes
not to me,
ask
Nikki
me,
VP.
I said, don't ever even think about we suffered with NAFTA for years, and now they want to renegotiate, which actually makes me feel quite good. I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing in think of it, hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten literally not 10 cents, for years and years. They took advantage of us. In fact, they had a minor stock market crash last week. The poll came out. You know, whenever a poll comes out that's good for me, your stocks go up and other countries go down. Does that tell you something? They had a little market crash last week. Oh, you know what it was? The night of Iowa, when those incredible best numbers in the history of the caucus, the best in the history. Think of that. That's a long time. And China had a rough day. Let's put that. Doesn't that tell you something, right? Doesn't Joe, right? And I gave $28 billion to the farmers and to the New England lobstermen and fishermen. We gave you a lot of money because they took advantage of you, but they don't with me. And I'll fight for the fishermen like never before with 4 more years. What they've done to the fishermen. Do you see where Biden wants to impose a fee on fishermen, $700 a day? I don't know much about fishing other than I want to take care of them.
We're going to talk about his
Nobody ever took care of them like I did. But $700 a fee, a daily fee of $700, that's a lot of fish, right? That's a hell of a lot of fish. I don't know how people can afford that. But that's what they have, $700 a day. It's a big deal going on right now. It's in the court system going on right now. These people, what they want to do, but that's what they have, $700. You know, I saw the other day, people coming in legally through our system. They frisk them, they rip off their clothes, they check everything that you can check. And yet, if you walk over to the southern border, you can just walk into the country, right? The people that want to come into our country illegally, or citizens. When a citizen is coming back into the country, they go through hell. When you're a person that comes from Honduras or anywhere and you want to come in illegally, you just walk right the hell into our country, right? They were showing the difference. A citizen gets rough. It's rough. Half of them think they'll never get back in. As soon as I get back in the White House, I will quickly end Joe Biden's inflation catastrophe. We will terminate the Green New Scam. We will terminate the Green New Scam. I don't call it the Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. How about this guy, Kerry? Finally, they got him the hell out. So China is building a coal plant every week, a massive coal plants. And Kerry goes over there to talk about how do we work it so that the environment, so they said, well, we don't think you should build any more plants. I said, what about them? They don't have to do anything. You know, it's interesting with the environment. Nobody knows more about the environment than me. I know a lot. But you know, when those fumes go up from China, they blow right over our heads in 3.5 days. When they dump their garbage in the oceans, the currents take them right into Los Angeles, like you. 5 days. You ever see? We take away tons and tons of garbage. We clean up their garbage. It's amazing. You know, they want us to be pollutant free. And yet their crap flies over our country every single day. It's we're really a bunch of babies. We're a bunch of babies. And what do you think about the mandate for the all-electric cars? They don't go far. Or you buy a little apartment someplace and they put a new sink in and no water comes out of the sink. They have called restrictors. You turn on the water, no water comes out. You want to wash your hands, no water. Let's drop, drop, drop. Because you're not allowed to do, even in areas that have so much water, they don't know what they're doing with it, right? In California, they send millions of gallons of water out into the Pacific before it reaches the farm belt, the farm area, because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish that nobody ever heard of before. And then they want to put restrictions if you live in Bel Air and pay a fortune, or Beverly Hills, that you can't use more than 27 gallons a day. Can you believe it? You have a house that's costing tens of millions of dollars, but you can't use your water. It's so crazy. And we have so much water. In fact, they have the canals that go right into Los Angeles, go right past the farms, and they turn it off. They have a massive valve. I was working with Devin Nunes, who's great, former congressman. He's great. He's in charge of Truth Social, which is hot. It's my voice. But I said, why are all these areas so barren? And then you have a little tiny, beautiful little green spot right in the middle. They said they don't give us any water. I said, but you must have a horrible drought. We don't have a drought. They have the water. You have to see this. They have the water, millions of barrels of water, gallons of water, millions going into the Pacific Ocean before it gets to these areas. If they let it come down to the farms, and I was working with Gavin Newsom on that, and I was ready to get it, and then we got hit with the COVID thing, and we had other things to do. But there's so many things that we can do to make this country so much. It's just the money that we're talking about. You know, that land is very fertile land, but it's got no water. They took it away. It comes down from Canada, comes down from the Pacific Northwest, comes all the way down, all the way down. It's a beautiful thing to see. And then it goes, I say, what the hell happened? The water's, you got tons of water, and then you look a mile down the way and there's nothing. It's bone dry. All they have to do is turn that valve in the different direction. They don't want to do it. It's, you know, the story. I mean, do they want to destroy our country? It's just what is going on? So we're going to be drilling, and we're going to be doing all of those things, and we'll quickly cut your, and I'm telling you, I'm giving you this as a pledge. Your energy prices will be from the first day we take office, 1 year, your prices in New Hampshire will be 1/2. We have so much energy. 1/2. Now, who else can do that?
That's how
And the
you
fake
win
news
elections.
will say, he bribed the people of New Hampshire. Yeah. You know what I bribed you with? You know what I bribed you with? Common sense. That's what I bribed you with. He bribed the people. No, your energy prices will be 50%. And that's not even hard to do. You can do better than that. But you will have that done within 1 year. So whatever you're paying, mark it down, because you're going to have it done within 1 year. While Biden is pushing the largest tax hike in American history, you know he's trying to do that. I will make the Trump tax cuts, which were the biggest in history, permanent. You know they expire in a year. And I'll make them permanent. Now we have to get a little help from these characters. And I'll once again cut a record number of job-killing regulations. So in 4 years, I cut more regulations. I went to the big businessmen with a group of some of the biggest business, you know, running the big companies, the big public companies. I said, if you had your choice, would you rather have the tax cuts or would you rather have the regulation cuts? Every single one of them said the regulation cuts. They weren't able to do anything. They couldn't do anything. if they had land, they couldn't touch it. They couldn't do anything. They said that every single one, there were probably 40 of them, 42, big meeting, and they all said the regulation cuts were actually more important than the tax cuts. But the tax cuts, a lot of the middle income folks would say the tax cuts would be more important, but probably that's why we had the great employment numbers. Before I arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we win the presidency, we have to win because we're not going to have a country if we don't. I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled before I even take office. Got to be settled. It never would have happened. And even the Democrats admit that if Trump were president, Putin would have listened to me 100%. Yep. It was the apple of his eye. I get along with him very well. It was the apple of his eye, but it never would have happened. I told him, I said, Vladimir, don't do it, because here's what's going to happen. And he said, no way. I said, way. But it wouldn't have happened. But it also wouldn't have happened for another reason. I had a barrel. We were at about 42, 43, 45. We actually had it down to 28, and these companies were going to go out of business. We had to lift it. We actually had to lift it. But we, at $40, he didn't have the money to prosecute the war. At $100 a barrel, he had so much money. He made a fortune on that war. And this guy is the guy that lifted the price up. So he wants to make a deal to stop the war, but he's making it impossible because Putin's making an absolute fortune. Because there's so little. These are not chess players. They're not checker players either. These are horrible negotiators. Or there's something else going on that we just don't know about.
He's like, how
something
stupid
going
are
on.
you? How
like when you look, I don't know
you?
if you saw it. Did you see that China is paying the Penn Center hundreds of millions of dollars? The Biden Penn Center. Biden couldn't get into Penn. No, he's got the Penn Center. Did you see it came out today? The fake news can tell you about it. They pay him like $100 and some odd million. They paid over $100 million, and they pay Biden a lot of money to be the chairman, but he hasn't been there forever. The whole thing, this country is so corrupt. And then they try with Hunter, they try and act like, I want $500,000 a painting. It's interesting. They called me. They want me to do a painting for the White House. You have these beautiful paintings of presidents, and they want me to do a painting. And it's sort of the last thing on my mind. We got to take it back and save our country. But I meet with these artists, and they give you like 25 artists, and you meet with them a little bit, and they're unbelievably talented people. And they get a hell of a lot less than $500,000. I could make a deal for peanuts. And they're really talented people. They're in a list of great artists because they want certain people doing it at the White House. And Biden gets $500,000 a painting. And I guess the one guy bought a lot of them, right? He bought a lot of them. He was buying the place out. Could you imagine if Don Jr.
Thank you, brother.
got $500,000 a painting that he didn't. And it's all modern, because modern, you take a can of paint, throw it, take a few of throw it. Then you say 500,000. You could do one of those paintings in about 12 seconds. You have 5 cans, boom, 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 done. Next, give me 500,000. No, it's so corrupt. It's, when that came out, I said, there's one they won't get away with. They got away with it. I guess. I don't know. Did they get away with it? I don't know. Maybe not. We will restore peace through strength. That's what we did. We had no wars.
Wrap-up. The wrap-up page.
And I'm the only candidate who can make this promise to you that I will prevent World War III. I know them all. We're not going to have World War III. And we are so close to World War III, you have no idea. When I looked at those bombs a few days ago starting to drop all over the Middle East, I say, Middle East, here we come again. I got you out and got rid of ISIS. We'll build an Iron Dome over our country, the state-of-the-art missile defense shield, and it's all made in the USA. We have them for Israel. We have them we don't have them for ourselves. I think it's time that we have one. Does that make sense? And you know what? It's all great jobs. We're going to make it here, but we're going to have an Iron Dome so that if somebody decides to take some shots, this stuff is really effective. Ronald Reagan wanted to do it. I think he called it
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Mm-hmm. The problem was there was no technology. It was a great idea, but today we have unbelievable technology. I saw it. I saw missiles going into Saudi Arabia, and I saw soldiers with extremely high IQs, okay? not strong physically, but strong mentally. And they go, missile, missile, missile. And they very calmly walk to a desk. Ding, 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 ding. They see the thing's traveling like 2,500 miles an hour. And they're like cool as a cucumber. Bing, bing, bing. Missile launch, bing, boom. It's the most unbelievable thing. But we don't have it here. We don't have it there. Many times I will tell you, Saudi Arabia saved Saudi Arabia a lot where missiles were shot from Yemen, from other places too. And these guys were unbelievable. They have actually tapes of it in action, and they're cool as a cucumber. You know, you have like, I think 17 seconds to get this thing off, right? You don't have a lot of time. The thing is moving pretty quick. And they just sit back, and it's like taking candy from a baby. It's a genius. It's incredible. We have the technology now. We're going to use it for ourselves. I will also defend our great veterans as nobody else has ever defended them. And I will ask Congress to build the full-service VA hospital that New Hampshire veterans so dearly deserve. You're the only state that doesn't have a VA hospital, full service. You know, you're the only state that doesn't have, what happened there, Al? They don't have it. What the hell's going on? The only state that don't, okay. They're the only state that you don't have a full service VA hospital. We're going to build one, okay? We're going to build it. I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical, out-of-control prosecutor in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. The prosecutors are out of control, especially if you happen to be a Republican. They are out of control. It's become such a corrupt system. I'm also going to indemnify all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States to protect them from being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong action against crime. If you stop somebody from robbing a store, they want to destroy your life. Why were you so tough? Why were you so
Penny's
bad?
facing.
You ever see anything where they walk out of the stores with television?
Facing criminal
everything?
charges.
I mean,
For killing Jordan.
and the police are told, don't do anything because they get sued. We're going to indemnify all police officers and some precincts, depending on where they are. We're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than ever before. Our cities are falling apart. They're all Democrat-run. They're falling apart, and they are so crime-ridden. You can't walk down the street without getting shot. That includes our capital, by the way, our United States Capitol. People can't go there anymore. It's so dangerous. You walk across the street to a park, which is, by the way, loaded up with tents, homeless tents. You know, I stopped that. When I was president, if I saw 2 or 3 tents forming, I said, immediately remove them. But then when you have 1,000 tents, it's a much tougher thing to do. But it was in relatively good shape. It was in very good shape. But, you know, you need new roads. You need new medians. They have the medians falling down. You know, that metal garbage that they sell, right, like this? Looks like they put it in the next day. I don't know. The sun heats it up and it just it is the worst crap. Whoever made that stuff got away with a lot of money. But they have them all over the place. But they're falling apart. They always fall apart. They're laying down. But these are very old. And they're half laying on the road. And you're driving into the White House or you're driving in wherever you have a meeting. You know where I was going? To court, because it was a Biden court. I call it a Biden court. I was going in to defend myself against this crooked president that we have. So I'm going into a court in Washington, D.C., where I can't get a fair trial, by the way, but that's all right. It'll work out because things work out, you know, things work out. But look, so.
Stay positive. It's important to stay positive.
They said, sir, I hope you don't get a certain judge because it would be impossible to win. I got that judge. I wonder how that happened. There's many, many judges. They said, well, the one you just can't get, it's so unfair as this one. I got that judge. But don't worry about me. I'm taking care of you. Don't worry. But I was driving in and you're driving over garbage. I mean, literally, it's the street. Can you imagine you're from a country? You're the head of, you're the prime minister, you're the president, of some beautiful country, terrible country, and you're driving in over garbage. There's cartons of paper. There's beer cans all over the road. And they've been there for a long time. They, you know, you can tell. They've been there for a long time. It's so sad to see. That's our capital. You can't walk across the street. You can't walk outside. 3 people were shot last week. They're being shot all the time. and dying in many cases. They come in from Nebraska. They come in from nice, beautiful places like your great state. They come into the capital. They come in from New Hampshire, and they come and they go and they want to see our great Washington, D.C., and they go away saying, wow, if they go away at all. But it's very dangerous because people are getting shot all the time. And I want the federal government to take over our capital, run it properly, and be very strong on crime, rebuild it, and get rid of the slum areas. We're going to get rid of the slum areas. Or make them parks or something. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate.
That's how you do it. That's everyone's asking for
And
COVID.
I always say,
there you
I
go.
always say that I can't believe I have to say this, but I have to say this. You would not 10 years ago, 15 years, this would be not even thinkable. And I will keep men out of women's sports. Can you believe it?
It really is.
And the new thing, I don't know if you heard, I
really
heard it
is.
yesterday, where they want women to be able to fight men. In other words, like in UFC
You're
or
good at
boxing.
this.
They want women to fight. And, you know, they know that. By the way, they know how that works out because in gyms, you know, they're all practicing, working out together. They know that doesn't work out too well. But can you imagine they want women to fight men? This is sick. It's just crazy what's going on. The weightlifting is something to behold. A record that stood for 18 years gets broken by 157 pounds. They put in a quarter of an ounce and a quarter of an ounce, and the women can't do it. 18, I can't do it. They put in 150 pounds, and the guy lifts it like it's nothing. The whole thing is crazy. It's crazy. And you know, and there are people, I sort of think they're serious about. I don't understand. I think, you know, you always like to understand where the other side's coming from, but a lot of this stuff is not understandable. Again, we're the party of common sense.
That would get a
I will
lot of
fully
votes.
uphold the Second Amendment. I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency where they can rob your money.
There you go.
We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech, which we don't have now. And I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID.
Simple. Simple. Easy.
But until
Simple.
then, Republicans must win. We have to win on Tuesday. We have to win, and we have to win by a big, resounding number.
Bigly.
It's got to be a big, big, beautiful number.
Bigly.
You know, Vivek just came with us. And now Ron just came with us. They're all coming with us. They're all coming. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history, and by the way, Senator Tim Scott, what a good guy. He came with us from the same state, South Carolina, as Nikki. They had her. What do you think, Senator Scott? You know, she appointed him, and he went with me. I said, why? I said, she must be bad. She must be bad. No, that was a beautiful endorsement 2 nights ago. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. There's nobody ever has done damage to our country like this. So if you want to save America, then this Tuesday, January 23rd, day after tomorrow, very simple, you must vote for Trump. Have to vote for Trump. So in conclusion, and it's been great to be with you. Really good. You're great people. You built this country. You really did. You really did. I said it too. Iowa, you built this country. So many great states, great people, the great states. From Manchester to Meredith, from Plymouth to Portsmouth, from Raymond to Rochester, you inherit the legacy of red-blooded New Hampshire patriots who lived by the very simple but immortal motto, live free or die, right? Have you heard of it? Have you heard of it? We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up those great skyscrapers, won 2
That'd be
world
great.
wars.
That'd be great.
We won world wars out of forts, Fort Benning, Fort this, Fort that, many forts. They changed the name. We won wars out of these forts. They changed the name. They changed the name of the forts. A lot of people aren't too happy about that. Defeated, he said, unacceptable. Yeah. No, they changed the name of a lot of our forts. We won 2 world wars out of a lot of these forts, and they changed the name. It's unbelievable. Defeated fascism and communism and made America the single greatest nation in the history of the world. You did it. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and it's lost its strength. We are a nation that has quite simply lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again, and it will happen fast. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers. We will expel them, people that want to go and have wars all the time. Nikki's one of them. She's one of them. Let's kill people all over the place, and let's make a lot of money for those people that make the missiles. We don't even have, a couple of weeks ago, I saw where they said we're very low on ammunition. Number one, that should, because we're giving it all away, right? To people, to countries. We're giving it away. We're low on ammunition. If that were true, you don't say it. There's some. Can you imagine President Xi of China, Putin of Russia, saying they just announced they're low on ammunition? That's not the kind of thing you want to say, and it's very stupid to be in that position anyway. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that truly hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House. On Election Day, 2024, we will evict this crooked, terrible president from the White House. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. 4 years you had it. You were not forgotten. Just 3 years ago, for 4 years, you were not forgotten. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, New Hampshire. Go out and vote. God bless you. God bless you.
Well done. Well done. Well done, Donald. Well done. Uplifting is a healthy message, an important message for him at this stage of the. It's time to start putting aside the divisiveness. I know he still has Nikki left, but when I was on Spaces earlier, someone was talking about how the one thing you have to say about Nikki is she's got a heart, and I was literally trying to get in there. I couldn't get a word in edgewise to say if Nikki Haley has heart, that just means she visited a morgue and cut it out of a cadaver. She has no heart. That's ridiculous. She has heart. Unbelievable. Nikki Haley has heart. All right. I guess maybe that's what it looks like when someone has heart and zero soul. if you're a soulless demon with lots of heart, maybe that's what Nikki Haley is. Maybe that's like the timeless question that has had philosophers wondering for ages. What does someone look like when they have lots of heart and zero soul? Oh, Nikki Haley. My God. Do I think that the USA lost way or just corruption taking control? I think that's I think that that's a chicken and egg kind of thing. I think that corruption has led towards helping USA lose its way. Corrupt people at top have been trying to help America lose their way, and they've been successful in that. So I think that's really a little bit of a chicken and egg kind of question. Because the more it loses its way, the easier it is to have more corruption. So it becomes like a cyclical type of thing. I wanted to acknowledge this thing. Thank you so much. Appreciate the 20 here, Steve. You gave me earlier. That you dropped on me earlier. Law of self-defense. I've seen Trump speak in person several times, and I'm not sure he's ever done a better job than here. He did phenomenally well. He did. He's looking really reinvigorated by the growing the coalescence of the GOP around him. He looks really reinvigorated. It's great to see. Tomorrow, I'm going to be in court, and I will be watching him. Supposedly, he's testifying. So I'm supposed to be picking my press badge tomorrow morning at 9:45, and then I'm going to go from there over to the courthouse and cover him. And I'll be live tweeting that out. That's my expectation, is to be live tweeting him tomorrow when he hopefully takes the stand. Now, Chugi asked a while ago, DeSantis hopes Trump will invite him on stage like Vivek. I'm thinking that ain't happening. Am I wrong, Vivek? Right about Ron becoming Haley VP pick? So I want to talk about this, about the VP. And my question is, and I started typing this up here. I want to get your thoughts on this as far as vice president. There's a lot of talk that Lee Zeldin, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, former White House aide under Trump, was saying that inside it's a done deal. And he wouldn't drop any names officially, but he did say it's a white male who is going to be Trump's VP, and that it's a New York former politician who's a strong supporter that MAGA is really going to like the selection, which led everyone to conclude that white male from New York sounds like Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin lost to Governor Kathy Hochul when he ran for election as a Republican, and he lost only by 6 points in New York, which was considered remarkably great showing for a Republican running for governor in New York. So my question is, I'm putting a poll up right here on YouTube. What does Lee Zeldin as VP do for Trump's ticket? Helps, hurts, no impact, or who? So I want to get your thoughts on that. So I'm just throwing that poll up right now to get your feedback on that. And you can drop a comment down below, because a lot of you I know end up watching after the fact. What do you think about Lee Zeldin? Is there someone better that you would like to see that you think would be more impactful or more beneficial to Trump's ticket? And I'm even before I know that most of you have a chance to vote or weigh in on this, I'll give you some of my thoughts on this. And that is, I think that there are a few things as overrated as VP. It could be a little different because he's older. You know, he's going to be, 80, 81 when he takes office, assuming that he wins in November. So it could be it's a little bit more significant also because of the fact that he only has one term to work with. So maybe the VP is better situated to run for president, and for that reason there could be significance behind the vice presidential pick. But traditionally, the vice president is very forgettable. It's very forgettable. Yeah, it gives a little bit of an inside track towards getting the nomination when the president goes away. I mean, let's think back to past vice presidents. I mean, it didn't really help Biden even get the nomination in 2016 when he was vice president for Biden. You know, certainly Pence is no closer towards the White House today than he was when we had Trump. I don't think anyone really gives the slightest. I think the more we're exposed to Kamala Harris, the more loathsome a creature she appears to be. Looking back, you know, okay, Biden eventually got to the White House, but yeah, he got the inside track. But was he doing much as vice president? There are little functions they go to They serve, I guess, as foreign dignitary. I guess they gave him an opportunity to sell influence and peddle that to foreign people. So I guess that's something, but that's not really what we're looking for the vice president to be doing. You know, you look back to Cheney under Bush. I mean, what the hell was he bringing anything to the ticket? You think he got any votes? Oh, Cheney's on the ticket. Dick Cheney's on the ticket. I don't think that happened. I don't think anyone voted for Gore because under Clinton or certainly going back to what's his face? Who was that moron who was under H.W. Bush that everyone was always making fun of how stupid he was? I don't know. I'm having a mental block on that now. Sometimes it helps give you an inside seat, but it doesn't do anything to your ticket. I think very few people vote for someone because of who the vice president is. I just don't think it does much. I think it's a little bit overrated. But so far, early showings in my poll are kind of agreeing with that. Only 7% saying it's hurting, 35% saying no impact, and 40% of you saying who? Who's Lee Zeldin? Who's Lee Zeldin? I will say this. Every time I heard Lee Zeldin speak, I liked what he had to say. There was a couple of times that I listened to him, and I was like, this guy seems not bad. He seems not bad. I think Ron deserves to be an afterthought and a forgotten man. And Monk in Training asked the question, why would he mention someone relevant like Ron? I think that it's good time to just forget that this whole debacle ever happened. It was a bad stain for Ron DeSantis. He only looked worse and worse the longer he stayed in this campaign. And I like the fact that he almost like made a joke about the fact that he's not going to talk about Ron. And it almost like put Ron DeSantis into the ignominy that he merits of like, let's all forget about Ron. Someone I would have made fun of here, but I'm not gonna. So let's go back to Nikki Haley. It's good. Yeah, I appreciate you calling that to my attention, although it popped in like a second after you sent that. I'm an hour behind, but DeSantis is the epitome of taint, the place between PU and Y and A. PU star Y and A star hole. Sorry for being crude, but words have meanings. Yep. He did not look good. Not look good at all. It was not a good show. Oh, I think I lost the super chat there. I'm sorry. Gorka did say a white male politician currently campaigning for Trump, but someone no one is talking about. I asked Barnes about Gorka, and he says Gorka wouldn't know facts. FYI. Yeah, when he said it, I was like, it sounded very sensationalistic the way Dr. Gorka said it. I'm not going to kid you. Like, I got scoop for you, and this is a done deal, and it's definitely happening. That's why I said, if he got it right, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember. Look, maybe it's not Lee Zeldin. Maybe it's talking about a different New York politician. Maybe. But if the VP doesn't end up being that, to me, that's a little bit of a... I'm going to remember what Dr. Gorka said. And if he does, then I'm going to remember that too. Because he seemed very positive. This is a done deal. It's like impossible. It's not Nikki Haley. And thank God. Because I got to tell you something. Nikki Haley, I'd take Kamala Harris over Nikki Haley. That's how much I hate Nikki Haley. I've grown to despise this woman. I would literally take Kamala Harris. And someone pointed out in Spaces that, the reason so many people on from the Uniparty love her is because she could be Biden's vice president and know everything she would say, pretty much the exact same thing that she's been saying. That's how establishmentarianism, that's how establishment she's been. Sean said Vivek should be the VP. He's the only one who can keep Trump on track to fill his promises. Vivek would probably be willing to give the credit to Trump too. Vivek would not be forgettable. I agree with you. But here's the problem with Vivek. There are a few problems with Vivek, and I like Vivek. I expect that in 2028, I'm probably he's going to be my first choice to be running for president, irrespective of who the vice president is. Okay, that's how much. That's a pretty ringing endorsement for a guy I hadn't heard of 8 months ago. Okay, that's a pretty strong endorsement. That's how much I've been impressed. Assuming he keeps on the same course that he's been on for the last 8 months, I fully expect that 4 years from now, I will be strongly endorsing Vivek for president. That being said, the vice president doesn't tend to serve that function or that role that you're painting him as far as someone who keeps the president on track with their promises. Unless you're worrying about some sort of health issue with Trump and that you want him to step in case, God forbid, Trump wins and there's some sort of health issue with him. Okay, then that would make sense. That would make sense, I guess. That would make sense. But as far as taking on that role, he doesn't add anything to the ticket. It's a doubling down of MAGA. It's essentially what it is. And I can see where he's not consistent with the type of person that Trump tends to surround himself with. Trump likes people who will be brown-nosing him. Let's be realistic about what Trump tends to surround himself with. He'll surround himself around people who tell him how wonderful and beautiful he is. Now, Vivek, I'm sure, is very capable of doing that and likely would do that for him. But I don't think he likes the fact that Vivek is so good at taking over the spotlight. I don't think Trump likes that. I don't think he likes sharing the spotlight. Call that a strength or you can call that a weakness, whatever it is. I'm not labeling it. You don't have to label it either. It's just the reality. Reality is he doesn't like sharing the spotlight. And Vivek is someone who, when he comes in, the spotlights tend to be drawn toward him. So I don't see him as someone who Trump is likely to select, which makes all the speculation as to whether or not he would be a good vice president. Assuming I'm correct in that assertion, it makes all the speculation as to whether or not he'd be great or terrible as vice president kind of moot. So, and yes, that could describe Rudy, but Dr. Gorka said it's not Rudy. He said it's not Rudy. He was claiming he knew who it was for certain, and when he was asked specifically Rudy, he's like, no, not Rudy. Rudy would be a disastrous pick. Oh my God, Rudy would be terrible. Rudy would be a terrible, awful. Oh my God, what the hell are you thinking kind of pick? Not in the same type of way that Haley would be a terrible pick. Haley would be a terrible pick because she's a terrible human being. He'd be a terrible pick just because he's so alienating and so polarizing, with so many people hating him virtually as much as they hate Trump, and just does nothing for the tickets. I can't imagine that it's Rudy. VPs that become president: Teddy, Hoover, Truman, LBJ, Ford, and George I and Biden. Sort of. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. And short of them assuming the role because of assassination or death, how many in the last 50 years? We're in a different era of politics. I mean, first pretend that this is a similar era of politics to the way things were 100 years ago is kind of... You can get name recognition, get face recognition without sitting as the vice president. It's become more of a dignitary type of role than ever before in that sense. It used to be, you have to think to yourself, 100, 130 years ago, how did people get to know someone? No, that'd be a way that you get into the public limelight, as if you're vice president. But this is a whole different era. You can't really... I mean, even going back to Truman, I think anyone before LBJ or Ford, I think it's unfair to sort of look at how politics tends to work as any sort of indicia based on from history, because the age of media changed everything about politics forever. I don't know if he's a reliable source or not. He might be, he might not be. I can't tell you. I'm giving you my source. I'm telling you what he said very precisely. Don't want to say that he said Zeldin because he specifically dodged giving a specific name. So I don't know very much about Robert Ortt. I think you meant it was Dan Quayle, the potato man. Yeah, he couldn't spell potatoes. He incorrectly, it was a fifth grader who spelled potatoes Potatoes, and he's like, no, there's no E. And everyone was like, yes, there is. It's like, there's no E. It's like, yes, there is. VPs have generally been useless on the radar, but given Trump's age, it might actually be a concern who he picks. Right. And that's what I was saying. If you want to say that because he's 80, it changes things a little bit, that they sort of have to worry about his health and his ability to, maintain his stamina and his cognitive function, for the next, until the end of 2028. Okay, I understand that. That's a fair point. It's true. Barnes does seem to hate Gorka. There's certain people that Barnes just really doesn't like. And some of them I agree with him on, some of them I disagree with him on. I will tell you this. I had this back and forth with Dr. Gorka tonight. I just threw out there this possibility about I mentioned this earlier in the stream here. I threw out the possibility that maybe the reason gas prices have been coming down has sort of been like that's been a little bit manipulated by the Democrats for the purposes of seeing as to whether or not, if the price of gas comes down, that does anything to help Biden's numbers, to make him salvageable as a candidate, or whether they have to tank him. Because I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think Biden's going to make it. I'd be very surprised if it ends up being Trump versus Biden. Very, very surprised if Biden makes it all the way into November 2024. I think that within 3 months, we're going to start hearing all these, if not being officially out there, we're going to start hearing all this talk about how his health issues and questions about whether he wants to continue. I'd be very surprised if Biden's on the ticket. Very surprised. It's impossible? No. I'm just telling you now. If you ask me, gun to my head, I think it's more likely than not that it's going to be probably Newsom. The question, and this was something else that they were talking about in Spaces, was they were like, how the issue that the left is struggling with is, how do we get rid of Biden because he's too unelectable, and then not say it like that? So we'll say something about his health, but that would tend to lead us toward Kamala. And how do we, but no one wants to put Kamala in that position because she's about as popular as leprosy married to COVID. So how do you most effectively shunt her to the side for someone who's far more electable? And they were speculating about the idea of Governor Newsom running as president with Michelle Obama as his vice president. And I'm not going to kid you. That's a freaky, scary ticket. That's a scary, scary, scary ticket. Oh, my God. You put Michelle Obama on a ticket. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to kid you. She's scary. She's a scary force. She's spent the last 15 years getting nothing but love from the press, with no one having to hear her express any sort of novel, innovative thought other than what they shove into her feed for her to say. It's a very, very scary thought. People say she's too lazy to want to be president, that she doesn't have the drive and ambition to serve as president. Well, the thought is that maybe Gavin Newsom and team basically convince her, you sit as vice president, you'll just be like sort of like the eye candy or the draw for women. And I'm not going to kid. I think she would be a significant draw. I think I don't think she adds anything as far as her political skill or insight or perspective or thought or anything. I think she's a useless drone, but that doesn't mean that useless drone isn't sitting there with a ton of political popularity, because she does. And to ignore it, you're being foolish. So it's like saying Obama is unpopular. It just isn't reality. You have to live in what the reality is. So she is scary. You have to think about Trump's age, plus the fact they like to delete him. So VP is important to me. Zeldin would be fine, as would Carson. See, Ben Carson, I don't know what Ben Carson. Everyone loves Ben Carson. I don't know. To me, he's about as wooden as Ron DeSantis. He looks like he's making himself fall asleep. He's I don't know. And every time I say anything remotely negative about Ben Carson, I'm gonna give this caveat, okay? I've never heard Ben Carson talk for 10 minutes. And I'm telling you now without exaggerations, because I can never make it more than 3 minutes. Like literally 3 minutes in, I'm like, I just can't listen to him. I can't. And I don't think I'm the only one. And then I have all these people telling me, what are you kidding me? He's a brain surgeon. He's a brain surgeon. Oh, you're smarter than him, Joe? I'm not saying I'm smarter than him. I'm not saying I'm smarter than him. I'm not saying I'm a better person. I'm not saying that I have any attributes that are greater than Ben Carson, other than the fact that people do not fall asleep 12 seconds into me talking. So he might be the greatest politician on earth. He might have the most insight and most based and MAGA and whatever. I don't think I question how the hell you know that you manage. I think if you tell me you stay awake for 15 minutes, Ben Carson talking to you, I call I call BS. I say it's not true. I don't believe it. Unless maybe you're on methamphetamines and you're sitting there like just like and he happened to be playing in the background. Maybe I guess maybe if you pump me full of enough meth, I can make it all the way through a Ben Carson speech. But short of that, I don't know how anyone does it. So yeah, that's just my personal take on him. I don't know. Maybe on radio he's better. Maybe seeing him doze off, sort of. It's almost like, you know, like when someone's yawning. So it just sort of like has like the contagious element. There's a contagion element to yawning that you see someone yawning, hear him yawning, you just start going. So maybe that's what it is. His droopy eyes just start lulling me to sleep, where I just sort of feel as if like, is he trying to hypnotize me? I don't know what's happening here. All of a sudden I'm buying insurance and I've got like a Sleep Number mattress. And I'm like, how did this happen? I didn't even need a new mattress. Oh, I was listening to Ben Carson. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with him. I don't know. I'm just telling you. Vivek for AG, Noam for VP. Okay, so this Kirsty Noam. She was the one, I think she gave in on the trans thing, didn't she? Didn't she give it on the whole trans thing? Every time someone throws Kirsty Noam at me, 5 minutes later, and I pull it up, 5 minutes later, someone says, Kirsty Noam trans. And they don't mean that she's a tranny. So I think that she's all about, like, you know, mixing trans and women's sports or something to that effect. I don't think Kirsty Noam is going to be anywhere. You want to put Vivek for AG? All right, I could do that. Dude's smart. Wicked smart. Wicked smart. Jackals. I don't care who gets picked as VP so long as the first executive decision he makes in the first 10 minutes of office is an EO officially shutting down the FBI and ATF. That would be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen, though. That's why we're going to have to elect Vivek in 28. Vivek in 28. There you go. Trump should publicly offer RFK Jr. the AG post. It will make Trump look magnanimous and pull some RFK voters in. Okay, so I will say this. I am nervous about RFK playing a little bit of a spoiler role here. A little bit of a spoiler role. I liked how he was basically saying he's going to come after these schools and remove funding from schools that force masks or jabs or stuff of that nature. I like the fact that he did that. Not that I'm offering medical advice, because there's no medical advice on the show, because I'm not a doctor. Trump's not a doctor. And there's no medical talk even here. It's not even I'm talking about medicine. Whenever I'm talking about this sort of stuff, I'm really actually talking about construction. A lot of people confusedly think I'm talking something about medicine or science. No. I'm explaining how you meld a joist to a lumbar shelf. Whenever I'm talking about that sort of thing, and a lot of people get all confused, thinking Joe's talking medicine again. No, there's no medical advice. Zero. I'm not a doctor. No one I bring on here is doctors. In fact, I specifically reject science altogether. I reject science. So stop trying. You shouldn't be taking medical advice from me or anyone online. Just go to WebMD. But yeah, as far as RFK, so talking about the politics here, which I do talk about. So when I talk about politics, so I have concerns. I have concerns that RFK and his position in certain science-y realms are very popular with people who would otherwise be supportive of Trump. And they're like, I kind of think that he's a lot more based in these issues than Donald. So I'm going to go there. And that could split. I'll tell you right now, that guy Johnson, libertarian in 2020, if he doesn't run, Trump wins every one of those swing states. So don't tell me that that's not impacting anything. Even with all the fortification that happened there, he wins every one of them. And I don't want to see RFK Jr. doing that to him. So I don't really want to see RFK Jr. on the ticket. I don't think RFK bleeds from Biden support. I think he bleeds a lot more from Trump. I could be wrong on that. But I think he bleeds more from Trump. And that's scary. So I think that if he offers him some sort of cushy position, I was thinking Department of Health, AG, I don't know. Maybe. So I don't want him overseeing guns, that's for sure. Dems will likely try cannabis reschedule as a green wave ballot issue. FDA recommended yes. Now pending DEA opinion. FDA report went public last week. Yeah. I don't know. You think that's going to do it? I don't think that's going to be that impactful. It's also not something that I think Trump's really going to oppose very hard. Like if he was pressed on it, I'd be like, all right. That's what I think he would say. Wims, member for 9 months. Big Mike would potentially boost the LGBTQ plus 2 to the 6 power vote. How did you do the 6 power thing there? That was really good. That's really good. Yeah, it's not just that. We can't lose sight of the fact that Big Mike is really, really, really popular with the left. Like really popular, stunning and brave, and every attribute they give to every member of the alphabet community, properly or improperly, they tend to attach to Big Mike. But in addition, the plus is that, I mean, black women look at her as if she's like freaking, like, Mother Mary. They look at her like she's a living embodiment of Mother Mary. So, that they will come out in spades. And whatever support that Trump has in the black community, you can anticipate will evaporate if Big Mike's on the ticket. So he needs it. He needs that support that he's well earned. Joe brought up a week ago, but doesn't reading the 12th Amendment mean that we should be voting independently for POTUS and vice president? The parties that made the vice president ceremonially president of the Senate should be meaningful. Let me pull up the 12th Amendment for you. I wanted to show you something because he was talking about the Iron Dome. I want to show you the Iron Dome in action so you guys can appreciate just how cool it is. I'll pull up the 12th Amendment just so you say you brought up this a week ago. I don't want you to be burning more money on another super chat on this. 12th Amendment. Let's bring up the actual texts. And you can sit here saying that's what it should be. It shouldn't be meant to be, but yet it clearly hasn't been done that way for like 150 years. So in that sense, I don't know why it is you want me to try to break this down for you. But the electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president. So you're saying because this president and vice president has to be separate? One of whom at least shall not be inhabitant of the same state with themselves. They shall name in their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the person voted for as vice president. They shall make distinct lists of all persons voted president, all persons voted as vice president, and of the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of government in the United States, directed to the president of the Senate. The president of the Senate shall. So they basically have interpreted this that if you designate that this person is running for president, that person is running for vice president, that's okay. And clearly, this is the nature of how politics has been running here for like 150 years. So, in that sense, Matt, you have to realize that like just raising this issue makes if anyone when they raise this issue, they sound like someone saying, "Well, actually, it's like like the nature of like why there's a hang up about it." It's not something that's going to garner much sympathy or support. You say president of the Senate should be a meaningful thing. And I talk about that. I've talked about that in the context of him counting off the votes and that he's not a showman or a showgirl saying, and here's a blue slate, and here's a red slate. And I think there's basis for that. But that comes back to this whole issue as far as when you're talking about on January 6th, the president and the Senate counting up the ballots, that the it all falls into an issue that I was raising when I was on Sitch and Adam. And I was explaining something to them that I was like, a lot of people don't like to think about it in this way, but this is just the reality of the way our universe works. So the way things work in Washington is very similar to the way things work between in your relationships with people you know. As to, let's figure out what is proper procedure. What is the way things are supposed to be done? And a lot of times we'll look at an amendment and it's very confusing. It could be read to mean like this or like that. And those are very different. This and that are very different from each other. So I said, and I gave by way of analogy in that context. I said, you know, when you're sitting here and I say, okay, you're a friend of mine and I have your phone number. Is the nature of our relationship that I can pick up the phone and call you, or would that be considered rude? And that proper etiquette is I should text you before I call you, which is a relatively new thing. 15, you can go back and look historically, be like, well, 20 years ago, no one texted before they called. Everyone just called. Yeah, okay, but that's not the way things have been done over of late. So now, what are the guidelines as to like what are the procedures here? What's the right thing to do? You meet a girl, you hang out with a girl or whatever. You go out on a date with a girl. Now, she gives you your number. You're going to call her the first time, or you're going to text first? Like, how is this whole thing operating? So there's sort of accepted practices and norms. And the only way you know it's wrong, whichever way you go, the only way you know it's wrong is if someone calls you on it, and then someone who's in a position of making a determination as to whether or not it was the right thing for you, the person to do that thing, to go with this rather than that, is someone who has authority to make that say. Now, in a relationship, it could be just be the other person you deal with who says, hey, why the hell are you calling? Why the hell are you calling me? You didn't even text me first, right? In law, it's a court. And so what happens is people just decide we're going to do X. And X might go unchallenged rather than Y. We have a choice. We can go with X or we can go with Y. Completely two different opposite ways. We can go with X or go with Y. And the way it works with the law all too frequently is someone goes with X. And they show the cojones to go with it. Or they don't have the cojones. They go with Y. And that becomes like an established pattern. Like, oh, Y is the way we do things. We don't do it the X way. We do it the Y way. So that's the whole thing here when you're looking at this amendment. You're trying to figure out here, this 12th Amendment is trying to figure out is like, what powers does the President of the Senate have? And why does it say over here that the President of the Senate shall, and the President of the Senate and the House of Representatives open all certificates and the vote shall then be counted? Why does it mention the President of the Senate? And you might say, well, it's a formality and this is an important part of the procedure and process, and that's why he's got to be the showgirl who's opening up the slates of electors. Or you could say, no, he has full authority as to he's making the call. You could read it either way, and there's no way to know what the law is. You want to know why? Because no one's made that determination. And it's only when someone does something that either becomes established practice or they break from that norm, or they do something and try to establish a practice, and then it goes to court. And then a court will make a determination. This is the right way to do it, or it's not the right way to do it. But until someone actually does something, and then it gets challenged in court, for you or me to sit here and say, this is what the law is empty, because it's not the law. It's just a matter of what someone does or hasn't done. And it's just speculation. Whereas as long as you give me something that's a natural, normal reading as to what the law actually implies and means, then in that case, what you're saying makes sense. And if I come up with another natural, normal reading, that also makes sense. And no one can say definitively that you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. That's just the same way no one can say whether texting before calling is the right thing to do or not an unnecessary thing to do until someone actually makes a determination. And I know people don't find that satisfying because you're like, well, you're a lawyer. You should be able to tell me what the law is. And what I'm saying is the law is only becomes established once a judge makes a determination, and that judge has the final say on it as far as, you know, getting the blessing of a circuit court or the Supreme Court. That's the only time we know for sure. Until then, it's really just a bunch of legal scholars jerking off, pretending that they know for sure. And then one might be able to bring indications saying this is why I know I'm right. And they'll bring indications why they say they know they're right. And then people will listen to those different arguments and think to themselves, yeah, I think A makes more sense than B. And even if 95 out of 100 people agree that I think A makes more sense than B, that still doesn't make it the law. Even if B is alone and everyone agrees with A, still doesn't make it the law. Not technically. Not until it's actually decided. And this is an issue which has never been decided. Hey, Joe, it's my birthday. Carson is a good person, not VP material. At least Stefano Christian for VP. Lake and Vivek are too MAGA for independence. Okay, so this is something I want to correct you on respectfully, Salt. This is something I want to correct you on. And it's ironic that given today's political climate, it's ironic what my source is for learning this. Something I learned 25 years ago from a woman whose political opinion I respected then a lot more than I respect today. And that woman's name is Ann Coulter. And she gave example after example after example after example, where she said, a lot of people love to say, you have to sort of bend toward the middle, bend toward the middle, bend toward the middle. That's how you get loser candidates. That's how you get loser candidates. Caving toward the middle to try and find, like, appease the middle is how you get losers who are not actually embracing values that you embrace. That's how we got a uniparty. That's exactly how we got a uniparty. I know you mean well in what you're saying here, Salt. I'm not saying this in a critical say like, haha, you're an idiot. I'm trying to make you see a different perspective. And that perspective is no. We need to stop thinking along these lines of we have to cave so that the middle will find us more tolerable. That's the way you win elections. No, it's not true. It's not true. That's how you get a McCain. That's how you get a McCain. That's how you get a Romney. L. Most popular presidents have always been ones who are actually very strongly like, no, the other side, you suck. And there's no quarter for it. That's how you get wins. That's how Reagan got wins. That's how Obama got wins. That's how Trump got 75 million votes. No hesitancy about saying, you suck, other side. So yeah, the Elise Stefanik's and Christy Noems of the world, no. That's a Mike Pence perspective. No, that's how you get losers. And it's something that a lot of people hate to say because you feel like, oh, you know what? I want to be more embracing, more open up my... No. People just won't care about you. That's what ends up happening. They don't come out and vote. You might be less objectionable, but you also make people say, I don't really give a damn whether or not you win. So, yeah, you won't bring out as many people voting against you, but you just won't bring out anyone to vote. You'll just have down numbers in the election overall and lose. That's what happens. There's a reason why a maverick screaming afuera wins. It wins. Milk toast doesn't win. Doesn't win. Just doesn't. If Donald Trump does not speak the same language as Javier Milei of Argentina, and no, I'm not talking Spanish as Milei spoke in Davos to the left, Trump will lose bank on that. That's precisely what my point was just now. Precisely. You can't shy away from risking offending people. There was an interview with Jordan Peterson with some, I don't know, woke interviewer, British woman. It was a pretty famous, it went viral, this interview, where she said, you know, but you're offending people. And he said, good. Conversation should be offensive. Ideas should be offensive. Healthy ideas can only come if we don't worry about risking offending people. You can't worry about that. Otherwise, you're enabling the the tyrannical perspectives of the alternate perspective to basically control the nature of conversation by saying, well, you can't use those words because I find them offensive, or you're offending some random other group of people that I'm not even part of. And it's not a healthy, it's not a winning mentality. Quite the contrary. It's the way you snuff your own voice. It's not just black women. It's all women. All women love Big Mike. All women. White women, black women, they all love Big Mike. Love her. Hey, I just want to run for VP, but not pose. You can sit here crying about this, Matt, about the 12th Amendment. You can sit here crying about it. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't make this up. I was born into this system. And I understand what you're saying, that it reads inconsistently with the 12th Amendment. So go challenge it. Go challenge it. like where are you coming at me, Matt? What do you want me to tell you? By the time I was born, this was a well-established system. Probably by the time you were born as well. I'm guessing. Press and hold the number. Example, press and hold one, both, and one. If you hold, you're asking how I got the 6 power. Press and hold the number. I just got that, and I got a whole bunch of 6s. But maybe it works on a phone better. I don't know. But thank you for trying to teach me, Wims. Make every position of Trump's team AI. That would be funny. All right. Well, I feel like I covered a lot here. I got to weigh in on a lot of stuff. I'm trying to decide whether I want to wrap up my show right here and now. I'm torn. It's 9:20. Normally I do a show late at night, but tomorrow morning I'm supposed to be going to court. Let me see if there's anything in let me see if you guys at goodlogic.locals.com gave me any good ideas of things to cover. I could just jump right in on. How long is this?
I've been thinking about Davos this week.
All right. I'm going to take without pre-screening. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to show you guys. This is the Iron Dome in action. So cool. Check this out. This is so freaking cool. Trump was talking about how he wants to build an Iron Dome here for America. Look at this. This is the Iron Dome.
Beginning on Saturday, the Palestinian militant group Hamas launched an estimated 3,500 rockets from Gaza into Israel, according to the Israeli military. As Israelis sought shelter, they had an added layer of protection. Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system, a land-based system that intercepts and destroys short-range rockets.
It's crazy.
It has become a bedrock of the country's defense since its introduction in 2011. Israeli military said the Iron Dome is currently operating at the same capacity as previous rounds, with a 90% success rate. Here's how the complex detection and interception system works. The system is powered by missile defense batteries, each consisting of 3 main components. These batteries can defend against short-range rocket and mortar attacks within almost 45 miles of the battery. They're also mobile, so they can be moved to where they are needed. First, a radar unit detects an incoming rocket and relays information about its speed and trajectory to the battery's control center. The control center's computers calculate if the rocket is going to hit populated areas.
The reason that's important, that they calculate whether it's going to hit a populated area or not, is because firing off the defense missile is expensive. And they don't want to waste a missile blowing up a rocket that's an errant rocket that's not going to be hurting anyone. So that's why an important part of not wasting their defense rockets is that they have to calculate whether or not the rocket that they're considering blowing out of the sky is one that is posing a threat to people.
A missile is fired from the launcher. Each launcher contains 20 interceptor missiles. Each receives constant guidance updates from the control center in its internal radar. The missile destroys the incoming rocket by exploding near it. The goal is to do this far away from populated areas, minimizing damage on the ground. As of 2021, the defense system had intercepted over 2,400 rockets
That's
bound for
amazing.
civilian areas since its launch in 2020.
2,400 of which they would hit populated areas. You think about what a freaking miracle this is. How many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives have been saved by this?
11, according to an Israeli military spokesperson. During a conflict in 2012, the Iron Dome knocked down 421 rockets launched from Gaza and bound for Israeli cities before a November ceasefire. And during the 2014 war in Gaza, it intercepted 700 rockets fired by Hamas, effectively blunting the group's aerial effect. The United States has provided over $1 billion in funding for the system, and has also bought and is testing 2 Iron Dome batteries of its own. In 2021, concerned about the possibility of attacks from China, U.S. forces began testing a version of the dome in Guam. Israel has expanded the defense system by installing missile batteries on ships. Earlier this year, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu...
This is an old video, by the way. This is not from this year. This is from like... Oh, this is 2 days after October 7th.
Street Journal that he wouldn't support sending the system to Ukraine to defend against Russian attacks.
We're concerned also with the possibility that systems that we would give to Ukraine would fall into Iranian hands and could be reverse engineered, and we would find ourselves facing Israeli systems used against Israel.
So there you go. All right. So I thought it was pretty cool watching it in action, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. No, my wife does not support Big Mike. I don't know what your point is. My wife is exceptional. When I talk about support, let me be clear. Let me be clear, okay? I want to be clear. It's not a matter of merely percentages, but it's also a matter of how much does this candidate stimulate people to come out and vote, right? If you think about this for a second, if someone has a 95-5 approval rating, but they depress the total vote, where total numbers of people that come out are 10,000 people, their total number of votes that they're affecting is 9,500 to 500. Whereas someone else who might have 75% approval, but can stimulate people to come out so that 100,000 people come out, next thing you know, so all of a sudden you have 75,000 to 25,000. So there's a plurality of 50,000 votes with the second person who only has 75% of approval, as opposed to plurality of 9,000 votes with the one who is more popular. And my point is that it's not simply that Michelle, that Big Mike is loved by the left, but I think that she stimulates people to come out and vote in numbers that they would otherwise not come out to vote. That's the concern that I have. While at the same time, also motivating people who otherwise might be like leaning towards saying, oh, wow, Obama, Michelle Obama, oh, wow. So, yeah, that's why I think, so would most people in my audience say, oh, because it's Big Mike, now I'm going to come out? No, even the women know, aside from the loonies like Linda. But the loonies like Linda are going to go out and vote against Trump anyway. Glenn Beck on PBD regarding Trump call about VP versus Short. Oh, that's what you want me to watch? No, Joe, it was built by the military complex. I don't know what you're referring to there. All right, so what I was going to say was Prospering Woman shared with me an hour ago saying this would be a good one for me to cover. I have not looked at this. This is the Davos three-pronged attack.
Davos this week.
Which Davos did have their meeting this week. And so they were basically pushing me to review this video from Neil Oliver. So I'm thinking about looking at that. Let me see what else I have here. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not really in the mood for Davos talk right now. Maybe another time. This might be better.
Yep, Moms for Liberty activists are.
It's a 30-minute video. That seems long. It seems long.
The activists are using book.
Should I do that? Moms for Liberty? What are you guys saying here? Joe Sullivan saying, Dear Joe, Iron Dome is just a knockoff of the more superior Patriot system the U.S. uses. It's only advantage that it's cheaper to operate. Imagine that. Israel using the cheaper. I'm glad you brought this up for so many reasons. A, because that was funny as hell. My seat keeps dropping on me. It's very annoying. That is funny as hell. That is great. That is so good. So good. But also because I'd forgotten about the Patriot system. I totally forgotten about it. I think you're right. I think you're right. Let me check if I can find Master Phillips, Glenn Beck on PBD regarding Trump call. Me too.
Last week, Donald.
Okay, this is what he's referring to here. I'm not sure if I gave this a thing, but I'm going to give it another one because that was funny. This is the way super chats are supposed to be. A nice $20 laugh, make Joe laugh out loud type of super chat. That's the way. Let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson. A great chauffeur blasting, make Joe laugh out loud super chat. Chef's kiss, Joe Sullivan. All right. This is the video. Although this is helpful too, because this gives me content. And anyone who's giving me content, I say, God bless you. Not to knock any of the rest of you. Not to knock any of the rest of you. Most of my super chatters, like 95% of you, are amazing because it gives me like stuff to feed off. I was simply saying that's like a yardstick. It's a yardstick that even I don't usually reach when I super chat. So there you go. Where was I at? All right, here we go. PBD. And you were correct. Last night following the program, we had Patriot defense in Iraq. When they went off, the whole world shook. Those things in a popular area would be way too extreme. Oh, so you're saying, so basically it's a cheaper improvement, the Iron Dome. Okay. See, I appreciate the feedback from military people who actually know a ton more about this stuff than I know. Let's check out. Trump called me last week. Who's Donald Trump considering for vice president?
Donald Trump called me and he said, any advice on who I should pick for vice president?
Oh, really?
Who do you think? Not that he's probably calling everyone.
But that's great that you're on that list.
And so he said, who do you think? And I said, I don't know how you're going to feel about it, but this is the day, I think it was the day he trashed Vivek. And I said, Vivek, And he said, why do you say that? He said, that's the number one response from everybody I've asked that question. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, A, he can defend you. He's right in your pocket. And while you're defending this, he's watching your back defending this. I said, also, I think some of his ideas are really, really good. Yeah. He connects with the youth, which now the latest of 18 to 24-year-olds that voted for Biden, they're not voting for Biden, but they won't vote for Donald Trump yet. So you get that lower vote, the people that are excited about, hey,
this is an interesting idea. This is an interesting idea to tap into his youth. And so this is a response to the claim that, well, you're just doubling down on MAGA. And the answer is no. That Glenn Beck is providing here, which is something I hadn't considered, and I think it's a fair thing to think about, is no, you're not really doubling down on it, because now you're attracting in a younger crowd of MAGA, which otherwise might not really care that much. I mean, if we think about it, I mean, we all remember Trump really well, but like someone who's 18, like, what do they know about Trump as his presidency? Even 20-year-old. They were like 15, 16 when he was around. And COVID was there. Like, they don't know much about him. And Vivek is an exciting figure in that sense. So that's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. I'm sure a lot of them are resentful to the fact that our politics are dominated by a pair of 80-year-olds.
Something fresh and different. And then in 2028, when you can no longer run, you continue for another 8 years, right? And you get the credit for bringing this new, fresh face in. I said, I just think you become legendary.
And what did he say to that?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. I actually, the more and more I think about it, having spent countless amount of time with Vivek, absolute stud, I could see it, man. I could see it. What do you guys think? Can you see that?
I think both self-identify as women for the inauguration. Be the first woman. I mean, that would be the funniest thing ever.
What do you think about?
All right, so I'm going to throw this. I'm going to ask this poll here right now, because my poll here on what does Lee Zeldin as VP for Trump's ticket do is 12% say helped, 10% say hurt, 28% say no impact, and 51% saying who. That's disconcerting. So let's throw Vivek up there. I have a feeling he's going to do better. What does Vivek do? Trump's ticket. Oh, the same choice. What does Vice President Vivek do to Trump's ticket? We'll have helps, hurts, or no impact. In Rumble, if you think it helps, put a 1. If you think it hurts, put a 2. Anything has no impact, Vivek for VP, put a 3. 1 for help, 2 for hurt, 3 for no impact. $69 is not an option. Just saying, job done well. 1 for help, 2 for hurt, 3 for no impact. Viola says help upon. People are saying help so far. Let's go further.
Tulsi.
420
I like
does.
Tulsi.
That's a good answer.
I like her a lot. I don't think she helps Donald Trump. Maybe she helps with the left, but or with the Democrats, not the left, but maybe she helps. I think
I don't know about that.
Knowing Donald Trump, especially the Donald Trump of 2016, I think that's the move he'd like to make. I think he'd, a Democrat, somebody that is not normal. I think he really has a true desire to come together. And I think he believes we can come together.
Come together.
Just like after he wrecks somebody and then he destroys them, he's like, hey, buddy, how are you? You're like, I'm a wreck right now.
I'm on fire.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If 12% of America run elections, right? And I know people say it's not really 12, it's more like 40,000 or 70,000 different counties and all this. So let's just say the 10 to 12% libertarian independents that are like, dude, I can't do Trump.
Yes.
But you know what? Tulsi? Really? Okay. So you know how Trump strategically picked Pence, and Pence brought the Christian.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that guy is a, easygoing guy, Christian man, boys, Indiana, all this. Okay. We're not worried about him, but at least he's going to be in his ear to make sure God, all this stuff is going to. So the independents are going to be like, look, man, I'm telling you, I'm sitting this one out. I'm not voting for the left. And I'm not voting for Trump. I want to sit this one out. Now they're going to be like, whoa, Tulsi, interesting. So she can bring some of those ideas. Maybe Trump's going to be open to some of the libertarian and independent ideas. Strategically speaking, if you're a strategist, do you think it's more important to hire someone as a VP that's going to replace you the next 8 years?
I'm going to tell you this. PBD seems to be very strong on Tulsi for VP. In Spaces tonight, he was very much like, he's like, you ask yourself, if they both go on the Joe Rogan podcast, Vivek goes on one day, Tulsi goes on the next day, who do you think is going to rock it more? And it's hands down is Tulsi. And I was like, is it? Was it? Maybe. I don't know.
Or do you think it's better to hire someone as a VP that's going to help you win today? And the people you need to win today is the independent voters and the libertarian voters like a Joe Rogan or an Elon Musk that would be willing to have her to do a live. Elon Musk does a live with her or Spaces with her. It's like, hey, the vice president, and hey, Joe Rogan, man, those, you know what? I'm not going to vote for Trump. But she sells it as, look, guys, I also was like you at one point. But here's where I'm at. Let me explain to you why. It took me 4 years to learn what Biden did, et cetera, et cetera.
So
do you see that?
I do see that. And that's why I would pick Vivek. Because Vivek could get on Joe Rogan and just hammer it through. But it is the vice president. Anything could happen. If I were president, I would never pick somebody like Kennedy picked Johnson. Johnson's the guy that I know.
But he had to.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
But he's the guy who stopped the Civil Rights Act in 1959. Sure. Okay. He was a racist till the day he died.
But some say Kennedy wouldn't have won without Johnson.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So, but can you find something closer to you? Now, maybe Tulsi is close, but I think there's enough conservatives as well that, when you hear Trump say things like, we're not going to cut any of the entitlements. Have you seen the debt? Okay, we're not a expanding country. You can take on debt as long as you're expanding and growing and getting bigger. We're getting smaller.
Yep.
And you can't continue to take on this debt. And so when you hear things like that, as a conservative, I'm afraid he'll spend just as much as Joe Biden will, and the Republicans will go right along with him. And if you put somebody in that I don't know is rock solid on basic principles of our Constitution, and I think
this could be true. This could be true. And Wims is basically saying, you made that point as far as like Big Mike exciting the left, that Vivek could excite the young voters of the right. This could be true.
I think I'm comfortable enough with Tulsi to be able to say, I think she's pretty solid on the Bill of Rights.
It also helps answer. Here's the other thing that he does, which Beck has not hit on yet. I don't know if he's going to at some point during this interview, but it also helps wash away some of the bad taste for the people who are on the right and upset with Trump for the way he handled COVID. Because I do think that he has more support from those who are anti-vax than Trump does, even though he's associated with Big Pharma, which is ironic. But that's just the reality, given the messaging he's given.
Constitution. You don't want somebody who differs with you on that.
Let me ask the question. Then let me ask the question, and maybe in a different way here. So, which sport do you like the most? What's your sport? Like, what do you watch? You're not a sports guy.
Football. I'm not really a sports guy.
Okay, let's just say it's football, right? Okay.
By the way, in case you're wondering, in the Rumble chat, like the overwhelming majority said 1. There was like 1, 2, and 1, 3, and the rest were 1s. So that's most people thinking that that Vivek helps.
So, say you got somebody that runs a 4.2 40. Let's just say 4.3 40. Adam, you can participate in this one here. Say a person runs a 4.3 40. They're 6'1", 195 pounds, and they bench 225 at the combine 22 times. Stud, fast, can jump high, 38-inch vertical leap. And coach comes in. They're like, look, this guy's a decent wide receiver. He's a 7.5, but he's not an 8. But he just ran a 4.28 in a 40, okay? He can jump 38 inches, okay? He can bench 22 times 2 plates. The guy's got an incredible personality, great attitude, smart as hell, great locker room guy, but he's not a full-on wide receiver. In his entire career, he's played wide receiver, but he can outrun everybody. What do we do with him? As a team GM, coach, you could say, well, let's test him out to see if we can train him to be a cornerback. Let's see if we can put him over here. Can we put him at this? Can we put him at slot? Can we put him at this? Maybe we put him punt return and you work on him for 2 years. And maybe put him kickoff return because he's so versatile, right? Do you think Vivek is versatile enough for him to be able to position him in a different place to still enforce and do his part, yet put
and I think with Tulsi
in a VP position? You don't see it.
I don't see it. I think it's a move that Donald Trump would like to do because it's way out of the box. I think people would respond to it. I'm just concerned about, Trump is not Mr. Constitution. And so I would like Mr. or Mrs. Constitution on board with Donald Trump.
You would like.
I would like.
But that's not that question, though. There's a difference between what you and I will like versus what's going to win. Right?
It's a fair point.
The question is, winning, putting Tulsi
Never
as
violate your principles, though.
No, and that's why you get to choose to vote whatever way you want to vote.
Right.
So you and I vote the way we want to vote, and the vote could be, I'm out, I'm in, I'll endorse, I'm going to be quiet, but I'll vote, right?
Yeah.
What I'm asking here is more.
You're missing the point.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
You're missing the point, PBD, which is Tulsi might be sacrificing principles to try to win.
Perfect example, right? And you just want to make sure this person's not going to end up killing. Because that's neither one of those people are those types of ambitious, crazy, wild Lyndon Johnson type of people. And again, I'm purely speculating.
Yeah.
But we've all read the books. We know what the mistress said on the site. So going back to it, percentage, odds. Rob, can you run? Matter of fact, I'm going to run a poll, and I'm going to run who would help President Trump. I'm going to run it on Twitter as well right now. Run a poll to see who would be more helpful for Trump winning as a VP, Tulsi and Vivek. And I would be so curious to know what the audience is going to say, especially now because they've heard both sides of the.
See, here's the thing. I don't know if people really answer that honestly or even with much insight. And I don't mean to hate on public polls. I hit on polls also. I think that people, when they see a poll like that, too often lean into who they like rather than actually analyzing with any sort of insight as to who would actually help him win. So it's like, I like Glenn Beck saying, I like Vivek a lot more than Tulsi. But I don't know if he's actually analyzing, does he really help him win or not? That's why I like looking into and analyzing like the impact of on young voters and stuff like that. You really need to do polling. I need Rich Barris, for crying out loud. Where's Rich? Where's the People's Pundit when I need him? Where are you, Rich? I need you. I need you so badly now. I need to know, what is the difference in polling between Trump Vivek / Trump Tulsi? I need to know, because I don't think people are going to tell me the truth. If I say, which one do you think is going to help his ticket more? I think they're just going to tell you who they like more.
The argument. because I think both of them are rock stars.
Oh, I do too. I would, if I were Donald Trump, I don't necessarily know I would name my VP right now, but I would look to Tulsi and I would look to Vivek and I would say, Tulsi, you want to be the Secretary of Defense?
Oh, God, no.
Vivek, do you want to be Treasury Secretary? And I'd put them out on the road and I'd find these really unique people. Remember, George Bush, he had people freaking out that he was, just a playboy and didn't know what he was doing. And so that's when he got Colin Powell and Dick Cheney, and they went out. He put the team in front of him. I think if Donald Trump would assemble a young, vigorous, next generation team that could go out and campaign for him and say, we're the team. We're the team. I think you'd change everything.
So, okay. So then I would say this last thing, and then I want to go to our sponsor real quick. So here's what I would say. I think what's important is, the way we built the insurance company, I'll never forget. One day, Maral and I hired her 14 years ago, 13. She used to be my banker at WAMU back in the days. Remember, before Chase, it was WAMU, and WAMU had all these different regional places.
Wow.
And I brought her in, UCLA grad, MBA, smart as hell. And one day I say, look, she says, Pat, I want to be a C-suite. So totally get it. I said, but first you need to report to a C-suite before you can be a C-suite. And she says, I would like to report to you for as long as I can. I don't want to report to anybody else. I said, listen, are you willing to do whatever it takes to fulfill the vision? Is it vision or is it career? Which one's more important? She says, I believe in the vision. If you believe in the vision, you got to trust me. If you trust me, you report to a C-suite executive that's going to help you become a better executive. Then eventually you'll be an executive. She goes under a CFO and he teaches her a lot. He was a phenomenal, very good for her. Then she goes and takes a different position and she learns under a different executive while she's working with me. And then eventually she becomes a president of the insurance company, youngest female president of an insurance company our size that we're doing, crushing it, right? And she's done a great job. I think it's very important for Tulsi and Vivek to hear this. Both of them are very ambitious. Both of them are very smart. Both of them are very creative. Both of them are very...
They're calling.
Sorry, that's...
No, it's your phone. It's somewhere.
I hear something about Taco Bell.
Oh, do I have it behind me?
We just learned Gren's ringtone, by the way.
No, did I bring my...
It has to be on.
It's on you.
No,
So-
I don't have a phone, so...
Is it your? Oh, is it that? Is it your?
it's the iPad. It's right there. I'm sorry.
Got it. It's all good.
Glenn, don't worry. You're Glenn
Sorry
Beck.
about that. Yeah.
Even Glenn Beck makes mistakes sometimes.
So here's what I was saying.
Probably China.
If by any chance Vivek and Tulsi are listening, I think it's important for both of them, who are very competitive, very ambitious, very driven, to put America before whatever job they're going to get. Both of them would want to be the VP. If they're about America, let the administration decide what job you would have.
And do you see that in them, Pat? Do you
I
see that they would...
it in both of them.
Gotcha. I do
see
too.
it
I do
because
too.
I think both of them are gangsters.
Yep.
And in my definition of a gangster, I mean a political gangster, which is what you need today to go against the enemy. If you don't have a political gangster, this is not the job for you.
I agree.
So this is not going to be 4 years of everybody writing nice things about you. The fact that you're the greatest VP of all time, they're going to be trashing you for 4 straight years in front of your family.
I think this election, something very interesting has happened, because we were all talking about this. The VP used to be, what state do I need to carry? And I do a deal making to see if I can add to my probability of winning. Then you went to an era where the VP was sort of meaningless, but then would get picked on. Remember how they tried to undermine Bush Sr. with Dan Quayle? He's a heartbeat from the presidency. And they used to play that card. But people didn't see particular succession risk with George W. Bush Sr., Herbert Walker Bush, and so they didn't worry about it. Today, there is more discussion because you have what's it going to be, an 82-year-old and a 78-year-old running? There's more discussion about succession, saying, wow, the VP really freaking matters, and what they stand for matters because it's a platform for the future. I think we're finally at a point after probably 40 years here that there's some real honest discussion going on. And I think it's healthy for America about what that VP means and where do you think they would go next, to your point.
I think you're exactly right. And I think that's the VP that people should be talking about. That's
an argument for Vivek. That's a very strong argument for Vivek. Very strong argument for Vivek. because President Tulsi is kind of scary. It's kind of scary. Very scary. That's a very strong argument for Vivek. Speaking of which, let me see how my poll is doing. Where's my poll? 62% of you think that Vice President Vivek helps. Wow. 24% say no impact and 14% say it hurts. That's a pretty significant number. 340 votes. That's a pretty significant number.
No way that Joe Biden makes it another 4 years with his faculties. He'll be, he'll be slurping soup out of, a sippy cup, probably the first year in.
So you say that doesn't happen now?
Yeah, I know. And Kamala Harris would be a nightmare. I mean, all of our enemies would go, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
So how are you going to elect Joe Biden when you know it's going to be Kamala? And he can't replace Kamala.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can't.
Yeah.
And
He
can you
can't.
imagine Vivek on stage debating
By the way,
Kamala?
the poll just
how
came
much
out.
he would destroy her?
3,544 votes
Yeah.
so far. 69% Vivek, 31% Tulsi.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And
I don't want to watch another one, but I did like the clip. So I'll give you a thumbs up because I like the clip. PBD. But yeah, I don't want to watch another one right now. All right. H. Coffee says, don't care how reasonable Tulsi seems. She was a Democrat during time Dems established themselves as anti-1A and 2A, pro-identity politics, dangerous pick. I agree with you, especially if you're worrying about his age. Especially if you're worrying about his age. I think I totally agree. I totally agree. Pro-Tulsi view wants a unity Americans don't want. I think that's probably true. I think that's true. I'm a very big believer in doubling down. Double down. Don't shy away. Don't try to be like, oh, this is more tolerable. More tolerable just means milquetoast ultimately at best. And at worst, a complete divergence from your actual politics. Tomorrow I'm going to be in New York City watching Donald Trump in court purportedly to testify. I'll be reporting on that to you. I'll give you an update, a video. It's the anticipation. I'm like dropping a video. Can you imagine that? Jeez. Wow. That's the goal. That's the plan. Dropping a video. I'm not sure. I might drop it on Locals first. I might do that. That's a goodlogic.locals.com. 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 That's where you find me. That's where you find out where to find me in general. That's where you need to be. I'm not sure if I mentioned that where you find me. That's goodlogic.locals.com. If you can't afford to subscribe, that's okay. If you're living in a Biden world, I get it. You don't have any sort of entertainment budget because he's basically blown out your wallet. Certainly don't want your kids to suffer on my dime. It's supposed to come from your entertainment budget. If you don't have an entertainment budget, hit me up. I will take care of you. I'll hook you up. There are plenty of people who come to me, and I'm more than happy. Total strangers DM me, say, hey, Joe, I want to participate. I really don't have it in my budget right now. And I hook them up for free code. It works for 6 months. And after 6 months, they want it again. I give it to them again. We can have that relationship for the rest of our lives. The objective in the 6 months is to basically say, hey, look, hopefully 6 months from now, life will be better for you. If not, I'll go another 6 months. We'll keep doing it. Okay. I'm not looking to alienate anyone but we'll price them out. It's $5 a month. So it's not anything, but you can sign up and follow me for free. And that starts with goodlogic.locals.com. That's my show. Tomorrow, next time you see me, I will be a member of the New York City Press. License to lie. Woo! I don't plan to take much use of that license, though. So my objective is to always present to you what to me seems to be the truth. Trump needs to not fall for the Ukraine trap. They're saying for him to go to Ukraine to convince Zelensky he can end the war, has death all over it. I think he's going to negotiate something there. I think he's going to take care of it by phone. I think he's going to be on the phone. He's going to be like, hey, Vlad. And then he'll pick up the other phone and say, hey, other Vlad, this is what you need to do. And then go back to the first one. Hey, first Vlad, this is what the other Vlad said. There you go. Whole thing take like an hour and a half. That's what I think is going to happen. Anyway, that's my thoughts. They might be right, they might be wrong, but they sound logical, right? That's good logic. That's my show. I'm out of here. I'll be back here, God willing, tomorrow. Make sure to check out that video where I'm going to be giving you an update as to how things are going at the trial for Mr. Donald Trump, who I'm hoping to see there with my press credentials. Till then, I thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. Make sure that no matter what you're doing, you stay happy. And the way you stay happy is eat the bugs. Godspeed.